All right, guys, we're a little early today. I apologize. Serious business. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. We have a lot to cover. We got some really good information. I apologize for the show program change. I try to let you know at the beginning of the week what everything's going to look like. This week was a little different. We were going to put this show together for yesterday, and it just became too much research for one show. And so we needed a little extra time. I decided to flip-flop the member show day from Friday to Thursday. If you're a member and missed that, go check it out. We had a fun discussion of making fun of my shoes. So that's we had a good laugh over my apparently poor taste in footwear. I was not aware it was poor taste in footwear until we got neck deep into the conversation. And the crowd pretty universally agreed I need to up my footwear game. So that was on the member show yesterday. There was other stuff discussed. And then we had to do this show today. So there's a lot in here. There's a very dense show today. But we're going to answer some questions that have been hanging out there. Answer a question Candace had a couple of days ago or yesterday. It got answered on the member show yesterday. I texted her the answer. She was very thankful for the member who I took a screenshot of the member's comment who solved the problem. But that led us to a little additional research as things happen from time to time. We get, field comments and questions and emails and concerns, and it leads us onto a rabbit trail. And so we find some additional information. So I'm going to bump that to the front of this program and move the timeline back a little bit. But I hope you guys are going to enjoy it. So two things. One, you'll see at the bottom of your screen, right down here-ish, I have a clips channel we're going to open. We'll begin populating that very soon. It'll have the openings clipped out. It'll have certain key segments clipped out. So we'll get those out of the larger program and into the clips, but it will be on a separate channel. It won't be on Real Baron Podcast. It'll be on Baron Coleman Clips. So if you want to be the first to know when those go up, go subscribe now to Baron Coleman Clips, and we'll begin populating that very shortly. Very shortly. We have not done a show yet since opening the channel. I just opened it yesterday, and today's the first show since. So this open will migrate its way over to Baron Coleman Clips, as well as any other segments that the people want to see. Two, I'm becoming convinced that there are factions within TPUSA. Factions, meaning there are a series of insiders, I believe, in my opinion, who were aware of what was going to happen, and there are those who weren't. When you talk to those who weren't, that's their understanding. I'm just telling you flat out from talking to people there, that's their understanding, that there is this division within there. I'm concerned that some of the people who were not involved might become part of the plan after the fact. And so my open deals with that. I took today probably the most famous example that I could think of. I racked my brain trying to think of what's the most famous example of where something like this happened. And I came up with what I thought was a pretty good example that will serve as sort of an exemplar. And third, for the early show, I don't remember if I explained this already. I had to go early today. I've got something to do with my kids tonight, and am just not able to do a later show. So if I wanted to do a show at all today, it had to be earlier. That's good news for our friends in Europe and Africa and Asia. It's maybe some of the folks who in the United States are used to watching us in the late afternoon or evening. Maybe that will interrupt their plans a little bit. So we might have a little different mix in the chat, a little different group of people. But that's okay. We're still one big happy community. And, serious business, folks. Things happen. So with that said, let me get into the open because I think it sets up, in my opinion, what is happening at TPUSA. To me, it begins to set up what might be the most important item that we're missing. The most important item we're missing. Let me say one more thing before we get going. I got into a discussion back and forth today. I shouldn't have indulged it, but I got into a discussion because I thought the guy was a serious actor, and I thought he had a serious question or a serious point on Twitter. And so I went back and forth 5, 6, 8 times with him, and then I realized the guy's not serious at all. So I blocked him. There is a lot to investigate in a criminal case. A lot. Very few criminal cases come down to a single solitary issue where the defense lawyer or the prosecution spends all of their time on that one issue. Very few criminal cases are decided on one single slice of evidence or one single piece of evidence. Very few. Rather, both the prosecution and the defense present a robust, comprehensive, comprehensible argument, a plan, a story. We're humans. We like being told stories. Our religion comes down to us in stories. No matter what religion you are, I guarantee you it has stories associated with it. Our political beliefs, a lot of those have stories associated with them. The history of your community, your state, it comes down to you in stories. And so we are kind of hardwired to accept this reality that we learn that way and we retain information that way. And if you walk into a criminal case and let's say they're arguing over, whether this is the knife that killed the decedent. And you walk in and you say, nope, this isn't the opening statement. You say, I'm holding a knife here. This is not the knife. All my evidence will be about this knife. Meanwhile, the defense has this robust narrative about the guy's life, about other possibilities, about theories, and they got all these facts they're going to put into evidence. And the prosecution's I guess I had that backwards. The defense is just holding up the knife. We're going to fight the knife. This is not the knife. And meanwhile, the prosecution, sorry, I had that backwards, has this whole robust theory, placing your guy at the scene, giving him motive, means, opportunity. You've got all this evidence, and the defense just ignores it all. Your guy's cooked. Your guy's cooked. You cannot get so drawn into a single element, a single piece of this, that you lose the greater narrative. You can't. Remember, we're solving 3 questions. Who killed Charlie Kirk? How did they kill Charlie Kirk? And why did they kill Charlie Kirk? None of those are really the why is really not important in a criminal case. We make a big deal out of why a lot, but it's really pretty irrelevant. The defense sometimes argues why. The prosecution's under no obligation to argue why. It's not part of the elements that they have to prove. They have to prove the who and how. So I want to push back on people who try to get too drilled down on one specific thing. This is the actual mechanism. This is the particular device that took off under Charlie's shirt. This is the particular way the bullet struck Charlie. This is the particular way the microphone acted in his hand. I don't want to get so drilled down. You'll notice I raise these issues and then we move on and we discuss other things. I also don't want to get so drilled down on Erika Kirk is a lying sack of doo-doo. Hey, we've proven she lies. We've proven she has a decades-long history of lying. But we can't do every show on Erika Kirk lies. It has to be a broad investigation. Tonight, we'll look at a different person. We'll look at a different a series of steps along the way, a different series of timeline, I guess, if you want to approach it that way. So just understand we're doing a broad investigation. I'm going to pull that banner down now because it's driving me absolutely insane. I hope you saw it. If not, I'll maybe put it back up towards the end. But I want to get into the opening statement right about nowish. Not quite now, actually. Right about nowish. This is your opening statement. Patty Hearst. Patty Hearst was born Patricia Campbell Hearst in Los Angeles back in 1954. She's the granddaughter of legendary publisher William Randolph Hearst. William Randolph Hearst had built one of the largest media empires in history. Patty's story is one of the most bizarre and captivating episodes in modern U.S. history. It has a little something for everyone. It's a tale of privilege, radical politics, kidnapping, brainwashing, crime, imprisonment, presidential mercy, and even reinvention. Patty Hearst's life has been dissected in countless books, documentaries, films. It has become a symbol of the turbulent 1970s counterculture clash with establishment power. Over decades, Hearst has transitioned from kidnapped heiress to convicted bank robber, from media sensation to wife, mother, actress, author, philanthropist, and even competitive dog breeder. Patty's ordeal raised profound questions about coercion, Stockholm syndrome, media influence, and justice. Patty Hearst grew up in extraordinary wealth, but also relative seclusion. She was one of 5 daughters of Randolph Apperson Hearst and Catherine Campbell. She attended elite private schools in Los Angeles, San Mateo, and Monterey. Her father was the chairman of the Hearst Corporation. She briefly studied at Menlo College and the University of California, Berkeley, where she was an art major, living a seemingly ordinary life. She lived with her fiancé, Stephen Weed, in a modest Berkeley apartment. The Hearst family fortune was rooted in mining, real estate, and especially newspapers like the San Francisco Examiner. This made them targets for radicals amid the Vietnam War's anti-capitalist fervor. William Randolph Hearst's empire had symbolized yellow journalism, political influence, and opulent excess. His castle at San Simeon remains a tourist icon to this day. But by the 1970s, the family navigated a more subdued public profile while retaining vast resources. Everything changed on the evening of February 4th, 1974. 3 armed members of the Symbionese Liberation Army burst into Patty Hearst's apartment. The SLA was a small ragtag leftist revolutionary group led by a guy named Donald DeFreeze. They beat Weed, her fiancé, and a neighbor who intervened, and then dragged 19-year-old Patty Hearst away at gunpoint. She was blindfolded and thrown into a car trunk. The SLA was a small, obscure collective of about a dozen Marxist radicals with black liberation rhetoric mixed in with incoherent ideology. They had already assassinated Oakland school superintendent Marcus Foster, and they viewed Hearst as a high-value political prisoner to leverage against what they considered the fascist state and her wealthy family. The kidnapping stunned the nation. It was front-page news absolutely everywhere, especially considering the family's media connections. For the first few weeks, Hearst endured brutal confinement in a tiny closet of a Daly City safe house. According to Patty Hearst, she was subjected to intimate assault, psychological torment, and a healthy dose of political indoctrination. The SLA demanded a multi-million-dollar food giveaway program for the Hearst family as a ransom. Randolph Hearst actually complied. He gave about $2 million in food distributed to the poor in the Bay Area. But the negotiations collapsed when the SLA demanded more and the logistical chaos of the moment. On April 3rd, 1974, the group released a tape where Hearst announced she had chosen to join them. She said she rejected her family as pigs and adopted the name Tania after Che Guevara's associate Tamara Bunke. 2 days later, April 15th, just 2 days after that video, surveillance cameras captured her wielding a rifle, an M1 carbine, as the SLA robbed the Hibernia Bank in San Francisco's Sunset District. She was heard on camera yelling SLA's revolutionary phrases. A second robbery followed at a Los Angeles sporting goods stores. These images of Patty Hearst in a beret and combat fatigues with a rifle in hand quickly became iconic symbols of the era's chaos. The transformation from victim to participant fueled endless debate. Hearst later claimed she acted under extreme duress. There were threats of death, grape, isolation, relentless propaganda sessions, all designed to break her will. Defense experts invoked Stockholm Syndrome. This is where hostages bond with their captors. It's a survival mechanism. The SLA's tactics mirrored cult-like mind control. They used sleep deprivation, ideological lectures, and forced participation. Critics, including the prosecutors, argued she had genuine ideological sympathy, or at least willingly participated after an initial period. The SLA itself was dysfunctional. It was poorly organized. It was paranoid. They were prone to violence. Most of the SLA's members died in a fiery shootout with Los Angeles police in May of 1974. Hearst and a few survivors, including Bill and Emily Harris, evaded capture for over a year, and they crisscrossed the country in hiding. But on September 18, 1975, FBI agents caught up with the group and arrested Patty Hearst in a San Francisco apartment alongside the Harrises. She was charged with bank robbery and use of a firearm and a felony. Her trial in San Francisco became a media circus. Her attorney was famed attorney F. Lee Bailey. He later would represent O.J. Simpson. He argued coercion and brainwashing. Psychiatrists testified on her diminished capacity. The prosecution, though, portrayed her as a willing convert who enjoyed the thrill of rebellion. They contrasted it with her privileged background. The jury deliberated for 12 hours and then convicted her on March 20th, 1976. The judge sentenced her to 35 years. The sentence was later reduced to 7. Public opinion was sharply divided. Some saw Patty Hearst as a symbol of a spoiled radical. Others saw her as a traumatized young woman exploited by those radicals. Patty Hearst only served 22 months in federal prison in California. She described the experience as isolating but relatively stabilizing after the SLA chaos. In February 1979, President Jimmy Carter commuted her sentence to time served. President Carter cited robust doubts about full culpability and her cooperation. She was released and actually really quickly rebuilt her life. Just 2 months after she was released, she married Bernie Shaw, the former San Francisco police officer who had guarded her during her bail period. The couple settled into a quieter existence, first in California, later Connecticut, and they raised 2 daughters together. In 1982, Hearst published a memoir, Every Secret Thing. It detailed the kidnapping, the captivity, and the trial, all from her perspective. It became quickly a bestseller. It offered a firsthand rebuttal to accusations of voluntary radicalism. She later wrote a novel, Murder at San Simeon, which was a fictionalized mystery involving her grandfather's inner circle. These works and the interviews she gave helped shape her narrative. It portrayed her as a survivor rather than a perpetrator. In January 2001, on his final day in office, President Bill Clinton granted her a full pardon. That cleared her record entirely. To this day, Patty Hearst is the only person in American history to receive a commutation from one president and a full pardon from another. After prison, she largely shunned the spotlight, but she did engage in some public activities. She actually appeared in several films by a cult director named John Waters. And she embraced roles that can only be described as campy. If you watch some of the footage, it's just bizarre. The kids might say these days the roles were extra. And these quirky cameos showcased a self-deprecating humor about her own notoriety. She produced a Travel Channel special touring Hearst Castle. She narrated documentaries. She embraced philanthropy. She supported children's AIDS foundations, including work with Elton John's AIDS Foundation, among other charities. Her net worth today is estimated to be north of $50 million, probably derived from her family inheritance, book deals, acting, and frankly, some investments probably along the way. And while this is considered outrageously massive to almost everyone, it's comparatively modest, frankly, to other members of the Hearst family. In recent decades, Patty Hearst has found passion in competitive dog showing. She's a dedicated dog breeder. She's an exhibitor of Shih Tzus and French Bulldogs and actually has achieved quite a bit of success. She had a Shih Tzu named Rocket who won the toy group at the 2015 Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show. That's a big deal. In 2017, her French Bulldog excelled as well. These pursuits reflect, though, a grounded apolitical existence far removed from her 1970s notoriety. In the last few decades, she's spoken very sparingly of her experience. She lives a mostly private life today and avoids major interviews, but her story continues to fascinate new generations through podcasts that cover this, such as these, and books and cultural references. And the reason it endures, the reason the Patty Hearst saga endures, is because it encapsulates larger themes. For one, it highlighted the SLA's futility. Most of the members perished, frankly, pretty violently. Their revolution achieved almost nothing. It exposed how a frenzied media has the power to distort events. The Hearst name ensured extensive news coverage. It turned a fringe group into a national obsession. None of us would have heard of the SLA had they not kidnapped Patty Hearst. Legally, it tested the limits of defenses like duress and insanity, brainwashing, those types of claims in court. Psychologically, it popularized discussions of Stockholm Syndrome. It also serves as a medium upon which to reflect upon the uniqueness of the 1970s. Think about the 1970s. You have the distrust of government after Watergate, the Vietnam War, fears of domestic terrorism, and it all created something of a general rebellion, particularly among the youth. Today, Patty Hearst represents resilience, reinvention. People can be redeemed. In just a few weeks, she went from Patty, the Berkeley student, to Tania, the urban gorilla. She managed to navigate trauma without descending into bitterness or perpetual victimhood. I raised the story of Patty Hearst today because I believe her. I believe she was kidnapped. I believe she resisted the SLA. And I believe she became one of them because she bonded because of the trauma. The trauma extends beyond the abuse she endured. I don't believe that's what broke her. I believe she was broken by exposure. Something happens to a human being when you fall into the wrong crowd, whether by choice or by chance. She was with this group 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And even people like this, they're not evil all the time. Nobody is pure evil all the time. Patty saw their crimes, but she also saw their humanity. She saw their hurts, their pains, their angers, their frustrations. She heard their private conversations. And she began to identify with their struggles. In short, their struggles became her struggles over a very brief period of time. I have to believe this is happening inside TPUSA. In my opinion, there is sufficient evidence that a conspiracy existed to remove Charlie Kirk. In my opinion, this is only my opinion, that conspiracy involved people inside TPUSA, including, at a minimum, Erika, Kirk, and Andrew Kolvet, in my opinion. I know for a fact that people still working inside TPUSA believe this. And if those closest to the alleged conspirators do believe people at TPUSA conspired to remove Charlie Kirk, and they do, only one question remains. Will those people come forward? Will they come forward with information that will expose the conspiracy? Or will they subject themselves to the risk of becoming like Patty Hearst and becoming part of the alleged criminal enterprise? They must make a decision, and they must make a decision soon. And that is your opening statement. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. All right. Don't forget to like the program. Don't forget to subscribe to the program. Don't forget to share it with your friends. Don't forget to click the notification. All that good stuff. A lot of fun happens here. A lot of fun happens here on the program. And again, I apologize for the weird time today. I know when you do a regular show, you should try to do it as close to the same time as possible. We try to do it between we try to have a start time between 5 and 7 every day. Sometimes a little earlier, sometimes a little later. Almost never though. Almost always between 5 and 7 start time. And today's a little earlier. Just happens. This is my Queen of Everything mug. I'm drinking it in honor of Mikey McCoy. I'm kidding, Mikey. I'm kidding. All right. I got to bring up something that happened yesterday. Just yesterday, the principal was on the podcast airwaves, and she was asking a question that I believe we can answer today. We will try to answer that question today, but I will let the principal ask the question, and then we will get to what I believe is the answer to that question.
Put out another APB here regarding who Charlie's pilot was, okay? I know that his first name is Jamie, but that's all I know. I think he might be from Texas, and I would like to know more about Jamie. I would like to reach out to Jamie. Does anybody know more information about who Jamie the pilot is? Because I think this would be crucial information, a crucial person for me to learn more about and for me to be able to reach out to. I think that's an unidentified character here. So please email us at moretips@candaceowens.com.
Well, I didn't email her. I think we figured it out, but I didn't email her. Yesterday on the members show, I don't know how this person got this information. Yesterday on the members show, we had a brilliant commenter. That's the screen crab we got? That's our screen grab? Me staring off into space? I'm just kidding. We got a brilliant commenter. I don't know if you can see that. I'll read it out loud. November 79, Sierra Charlie. Have you checked this plane? It's one Charlie Kirk flew on. Well, that's the first part of it. Here's the important part. Jamie Thomas, CEO of Paradise Jets, would also fly Charlie Kirk. He's from Texas. I emailed Candace Owens. The plane and the November 582 Mike you just referenced are Jamie's. That was interesting. Please don't email that account that you just see on the screen right there. I block everyone who emails it. There's an auto email that goes out. I don't read them. Please don't email that account. That's a personal account that I use to do personal business. I know it flashes up on the screen from time to time because I'm too lazy to use a different browser. I don't want to log back into everything, but please don't use that. But anyway, don't lose sight of the fact that this is good detail. Jamie Thomas, CEO of Paradise Jets. So she asks, I think it's someone named Jamie from Texas. This guy says, hey, there's a guy named Jamie Thomas. He's the CEO of Paradise Jets, and he flies 2 planes, and that we know of, at least 2 planes. And those 2 planes are planes that Charlie Kirk tends to fly on. Well, here is a quick screen grab. It does not have any identifying information. This is a public page on LinkedIn. This is Jamie Thomas, CEO of Paradise Jets. He is in front of, I think he might be in front of one of the tail numbers we were just looking at. So I don't know what she intends to do with this information, but I did send this information to her to get in touch with her. But I thought it would be interesting because time is of the essence. So if anybody has any information about this guy, about anything to do with whether he was flying that day or may have been flying that day, if you know this guy personally, can talk to him, maybe get in touch with Candace because she has an email account. I don't anymore. I'm kidding. Our email account is open, realbaronpodcast@gmail.com. It's just we no longer guarantee we'll check the emails. It's there, but we cannot guarantee we're going to check the emails on any kind of timely basis. So I don't know if you were here for the last episode. I made that announcement. And it's just a time matter. It's just a time thing that we just have to do. Here are the certificates. Every jet that gets put into circulation as a jet you can rent, it has to get certified. These are the certificates here. This is the one for, just in case anyone was guessing, this is the one for, which plane this was. Oh, this is N582 Mike. And here is the charter for the other plane that we were looking at, N79 Sierra Charlie. So these are the 2 things. So yeah, you can see there, they both say Paradise Jets on them. And these are planes we have confirmed ferry from time to time, not all the time, but from time to time, these jets ferry TPUSA employees around. Do I need this right here? No, I don't need that. Okay. I want to do a quick refresher because I found some information I didn't know when we covered this last time. Last episode, we kept asking, why are certain planes going to Kalispell, Montana? For those of you that didn't see it, I'll play this. It's just a brief little clip. For those that did see it, this is a real refresher of why we're asking about Kalispell, Montana, because when I reveal what I'm going to reveal, you'll understand why this has raised the hair on the back of my spine. So let me play this real quickly. Start looking through here, and I start seeing stops that are pretty consistently TPUSA. And then I get to this weird flight here. This is Fort Huachuca. Atlanta to Fort Huachuca. It lands at 9:33 a.m. and it's there all day. It does not leave until 4:39 p.m. Why is a plane frequently, I don't want to say exclusively used by TPUSA, but I want to say frequently used by TPUSA? Why is a plane used by TPUSA going to Fort Huachuca? Now, this is October 4th. The morning of October 4th, it flies into Fort Huachuca, and then it flies to Kalispell. Well, I've been around long enough to have recognized the name Kalispell. I'll get to that in just a moment. Well, and I'll go ahead and spoil the surprise so we don't have to watch any more of this old episode. But Kalispell was where the Axel 10 plane went, the plane that flew real low, that there was a lot of speculation. It had sensitive military equipment on it. It flew maybe a couple hours before the Charlie Kirk event in Orem, Utah. It flew very low, like a couple hundred feet off the deck at near stall speed, like 110, 120 knots, and then took back off, and it went and landed at Kalispell. It came from El Paso, flew over Provo, Utah, and then went to Kalispell. And then it left Kalispell, came back, did the exact same type of maneuver, flew very low over Provo, like 100 feet off the deck, about 100 knots, right at stall speed. Like if it went 10 knots slower, it might fall out of the sky. You got to have enough air coming over the wing to lift it up. That's Bernoulli's principle. I looked that up, ladies and gentlemen. I looked that up. I thought, why would they stall if they go so slow? Because they don't have enough lift. They don't have enough air going over the top to create a high pressure circuit to pull it up off the ground. I learned a little something about science in preparation for this program. But so there were two different planes that went to Kalispell. And I thought, this is a really weird little tiny know-nothing town up in northern Montana. What is so interesting about Kalispell? We had the N582 Mike plane that went to Kalispell. We had the Axel 10 plane, the N1098 Lima went to Kalispell. Well, let me show you an article I found about Kalispell. It's very interesting to me. This was sent by an emailer, actually, before we shut the email. I didn't shut it down, but before I stopped checking the email. Inside off-the-record meet between CIA spies and Hollywood execs in my tiny Montana town. The line between the Hollywood intelligence community has always been a porous one. Hollywood and the intelligence community has always been a porous one. After all, the CIA successfully pushed to change the ending of 1984 at the height of the Cold War. Argo became the first film to shoot inside of Langley. I did a whole opening on this. Come in no surprise that creatives in the alphabet agencies, they so often needed a place to meet up. Next month, high-profile members of both secretive societies will converge in Montana for the Whitefish Security Summit. The Whitefish Security Summit. This is interesting here. Literal spies tell us that the summit, which runs from April 2 to 3, was poised to take place in Park City, Utah, but pivoted to Big Sky Country because it could offer a secure perimeter and off-the-grid security required for the elite NatSec crowd, national security crowd. It didn't hurt that the tiny town of Whitefish has quietly become a favorite retirement destination for former CIA officers. Does anybody want to guess where Whitefish is? That's right. Basically, Kalispell. Kalispell is the airport, and you take like a 5-minute drive and you're in Whitefish. So this is such a weird connection. The tiny town of Whitefish has become a CIA hotspot. How you get to Whitefish is you fly into Kalispell. They have secure perimeters and off-the-grid places you can meet up. Just the type of place you would want to go if you were planning some sort of national event, some sort of massive event that you didn't want anyone to know about. You'd want an off-the-grid place. You'd want a CIA hotspot, perhaps. Now, Baron, are you saying you can definitively state 100% certainty this was a CIA operation planned and executed out of Whitefish? No. I'm raising the issue because it's important enough at this point for me to say this needs to be looked into. This needs to be looked into because a lot of these planes ended up in Kalispell at various times. And I can't see much else in Kalispell. There's some weird children's charities. There's an Indian reservation off of there. And it appears to, for whatever reason, be a favorite retirement hotspot for CIA types. And it happens to be a place where they do secret meetings. That's a data point. That's not one I can ignore. Particularly when a plane used by TPUSA goes from Fort Huachuca, an intelligence base, and then flies immediately to Kalispell, 5 minutes away from this CIA hotspot. I can't ignore that. That's not something I'm willing to look past until it gets solved. Until we know who was on that plane or who wasn't on that plane. That's not something I'm willing to look past. We have made hay. I'm going to switch gears here. We've made hay about the last episode of the Charlie Kirk show. The very last episode of the Charlie Kirk show was aired the morning that Charlie Kirk got taken out. It aired from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central time, Pacific time, Santa Barbara time, where Andrew Kolvet filmed the first hour of it. It aired from 10 a.m. to noon Mountain time, where Utah was. And that would be noon to 2 p.m. Eastern time, where the bulk of the U.S. population lives on the right-hand side of the country, if you're looking at a map. That's the timing that we're dealing with. The first hour was live. The second hour was pre-recorded. We've made hay about that because having it be pre-recorded frees Andrew up an hour earlier should he want to be involved in any kind of operation to remove the head of TPUSA. I'm not saying he was. Well, I kind of say, in my opinion, starting to lead me that way. I'll have some more information today that'll show you why I think that. But there was a really interesting theme of the Charlie Kirk show that day. A very, very interesting theme of the Charlie Kirk show. This was not a theme that I was able to ignore once Daisy pointed it out to me, because she went back and watched this full episode. And if you watch it, you very quickly come to the conclusion that I came to, that this is too weird for words. This is too weird to just be a coincidence. That afternoon at 12:23 p.m., Charlie Kirk will be taken out in a fit of violence. He'll be taken out in a fit of violence. So what do you think the Charlie Kirk show was about that day? Anybody want to take a gander? Well, I'll let you listen to it directly from the guest herself. Let me share it over here so I don't pull a Baron. Don't want to do that. Let me share it over here so we can all see it at once. Here we go. All right. This is the topic of conversation the day Charlie Kirk would be taken out by violence.
Events, a great guest. But Libby, before we dive into it, there was a clip of you and Jack Posobiec on Timcast last night, and that's why you're here, because it was such a great jumping off point for the discussion I want to have with you. Go ahead and play cut 407.
In reality, and you can see the statistics, you can see the data, that unfortunately we have a problem of mass violence against white people in this country that has gone completely unchecked and in some cases encouraged. And in every single case, you have people like Van Jones going on TV and making excuses for it. And it's disgusting. It is open season on white people in this country. Well, it has been since the knockout game. It has been since White Girl Bleed a Lot. And now you have the exact same things going on and on.
Right. But it was. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean. We also saw
because they view them as white.
We also saw a young black woman.
Well, they were the Hasidic Jews wearing the big hats.
An illegal immigrant and thrown up.
So they come right out of the gate swinging. The theme of the show is political violence. Violence particularly against white people. That was the first guest. She's on to talk about political violence against white people. A little too on the nose for me with what would happen about 3 hours after this. 3-ish or so hours after this. 2-ish or so hours. I'm not sure exactly the timeline. So that was the first guest. The second guest pops in. Second guest pops in is a guy named Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley actually lives, I believe, in the Utah area, if I'm not mistaken, or he at least was supposed to be there that day. He was supposed to be at the Charlie Kirk event that day. He was not. He didn't make it to the event that day. But he was on the Charlie Kirk show. That's why he didn't make it to the Utah event to see Charlie Kirk. He was on the Charlie Kirk show to talk about, anybody want to guess? Well, I'll let them tell you.
It kind of reveals how young this starts. Go ahead and play cut 383.
How old are you?
I can't even say my age on the hood.
What?
I can't.
Why is everybody so secretive here? Why is there so?
Because we out west with it. We out west with it on the hood.
Why do you walk around with a shiesty?
Because I ops out here.
You
I don't
ops?
play no games.
Like, are you in high school still?
Yeah, I'm still. No, actually, I'm out of high school. I got kicked out.
And what do you hope that happens with your life in your future?
I hope we get better. I ain't going back.
What's your current situation?
Family So we all arguing, doing a whole bunch of. It's just chaos.
So what do you think would be the solution to get yourself out of the chaos? Would it be to go to college, get an education, move out of Chicago?
Yeah. Then I move out of Chicago. I keep been thinking about moving out of Chicago. Been posting on these stories, talking about they finna move out of Chicago, do this, do that. I've been looking at them. I've been like, finna get out the rag. That's crazy.
Is it pretty dangerous to be walking around these streets?
Yeah, I ain't gonna bro.
Is that why you're walking around with a shiesty?
I got upthrown by 4 pipes in one day.
So Nick Shirley shows up to talk about violence. He shows up to talk about violence, particularly the indoctrination of violence in the black community. So that's the second guest. First guest is political violence. Second guest is young people committing violence because they're politically indoctrinated. We get Andrew back on the screen here in just a little bit. Let me see if I can find this here. Andrew comes back on the screen to say it's a wild ride, this show. This show has been on a wild ride. It's going to be a wild event. Well, what's going to be a wild event, Andrew? What is so wild? What do you know, Andrew, that we don't know? Here is how he put it.
Back to the Charlie Kirk Show. Andrew Kolvet, executive producer of the Charlie Kirk Show. Man, what a wild ride this show has been on, and what Turning Point has been on, and what Charlie himself has been on, the country. Excited to tell you about why Refi.
And then he goes into a live read for the guy who sponsored the Turning Point UVU event. So Andrew is saying Charlie's been on a wild ride, TPUSA's been on a wild ride, the show's been a wild ride. You're talking about, it sounds like violence. The show's been on a wild ride. The whole show's been about violence, particularly violence from young people committed against white people for political reasons. That's kind of weird. And now he's linking in TPUSA and he's linking in Charlie Kirk with that. You'd think we're done. You'd think we're done with the weirdness and the connections to what would happen to Charlie Kirk later that day, but you'd be wrong. You'd be wrong because they actually go to a cut of Pam Bondi, of all people. Pam Bondi gets interviewed to talk about something else relevant to what would happen to Charlie Kirk that day. Let me pull this up, let it roll for just a few seconds, and you guys can get an idea of what Pam Bondi was talking about on this particular day.
Hand in hand with Park Police, with Metro, with Transit Authority, and the National Guard. So we're going to continue to do that. Stay tuned. We're going to continue to do that throughout this country.
Just a few weeks ago, parents and kids, they went back to school. Now, under the Biden administration, parents, if they showed up at a school board meeting, they were basically deemed domestic terrorists for speaking out. You just pushed out a memo about parents' rights. Just talk about how important that is moving forward.
It's extremely important to President Trump and to our entire administration. Parents have the right to direct the moral, the educational, the religious leanings, dealings with their children, not up to teachers, not up to school boards. Parents have the right to peacefully protest, to be heard at school board meetings, and not to be declared domestic terrorists. We are going to protect our parents, and they in turn can protect their children from transgender books in elementary school, to be safe, to boys staying in boys' bathrooms and girls staying in girls' bathrooms.
Kind of on the nose again. It's like the whole show was produced as to what was going to happen. We got to protect these kids from transgender indoctrination at schools because, as you know, keeping with the theme of the show, that sometimes turns into violence. A little weird. Now let's go to the very end. This is Andrew Kolvet, the last words he will speak on the Charlie Kirk Show before Charlie Kirk is removed, not only as the head of TPUSA, but as a living human being on this planet. I will give him a minute or so, maybe a minute and a half, to explain his closing argument. This really does come across weird in light of what happened. Even weirder if he did not know what was going to happen. A weird way to end this program. So let me pull up Andrew now, and we will let him have a say here.
And the White House correspondent from Real America's Voice. My understanding of that clip is that they were on their way to Chicago. Brian caught her on the tarmac. Maybe he's traveling with her. I'm not sure, but that's the Attorney General Pam Bondi. And, you see that, especially that clip, that portion of the interview where they're talking about the National Guard in these cities like Chicago, and then you contrast that with some of the footage that Nick Shirley got out of the west side of Chicago with those gangs and those rappers, where they've all been shot and they protect their blocks almost like a mini nation state. And this cycle of violence continues on and on and on. And they even call it a war zone. Chirac, they actually say it's a war zone in the footage that Nick has. These are people living in America, but it is not like the America you or I probably know. It is much more dangerous, much more violent. And the cycle of destruction and death and murder just continues on, and it spirals out of control. Something has to be done to stop the cycle. I think that's the message, that something has to be done to stop this cycle. And that requires bold action. That requires steamrolling these feckless Democrats that seem to love crime for some reason. Never fully understand it. But something has to be done. The cycle has to be stopped, and we have to make America safe again. And I hope that President Trump moves forward forcefully. Dr. James Orr from
And that is how he ended the final broadcast of the final live part of the broadcast of the Charlie Kirk show. A very weird thing, because if you followed the Charlie Kirk coverage in the days after it happened, you realize that is precisely the message that came out of it. We have to steamroll these groups. We have to stop this cycle of violence. Almost as if they knew, almost, one could draw the opinion that they knew there would be an act of political violence a couple hours later, and that they could use that to then steamroll these groups. They could use that to go after these groups, to take a mortal stranglehold over the political process for Republicans. It's just a weird way for this show to end. And so we put together a timeline. And I want to bring it up. It's fancy enough. I mean, it looks pretty good. I'm going to make this a little smaller and actually make this a little smaller. But I want to bring this timeline up because I kind of want to show you what was happening, who said what. Now that we have the benefit of 6 months of looking back, if we look at that morning, if we look at the time in and around it, the statements people made, when they said they learned certain things, you start to realize these people need to be tied down to these stories. Like, these stories need to be on the record, part of the official record, and tied down, because these stories don't make sense. I'm going to show you where some planes landed earlier, and I'm going to show you some pattern breaks of that, because it's going to support my position that these guys did not fly on the planes that they are suggesting they flew on. But before we get there, I want to show you this Big Bang timeline that we've created that will sort of give you an idea of what it is I'm talking about. Let me, at 8:09 a.m., this is the Egyptian plane. All times here are Utah time. At 8:09 a.m., the Egyptian plane SUBTT leaves Provo, Utah. At about the same time, this plane, November 102 Delta Zulu, leaves Scottsdale, Arizona. The Delta Zulu plane, that's the plane Charlie Kirk left on to go to Salt Lake City. He had an interview in Salt Lake City before the Utah Valley University event. It was weird. We'll talk about it later. But that is roughly the same time. One of the Egyptian planes leaves Utah at about the time Charlie Kirk leaves Scottsdale. Just a 45 minutes or so later, not even 45 minutes or so later, a plane leaves Scottsdale, N560TW. That plane leaves Scottsdale from Pinnacle Aviation. I don't know who was on that plane. I've posited that perhaps Erika Kirk even was on that plane. I no longer necessarily believe that, because I think we can put Erika Kirk, based on what Candace said the other day, actually at a different location. But somebody was on that plane. That was a plane that went from Scottsdale to Provo. In all likelihood, had TPUSA people on it. I think Erika told Candace that plane, that 8:53 a.m. plane, might have had the sponsor, the Y-Refi sponsor that day. At 9:24 a.m. Utah time, Charlie Kirk touches down in Salt Lake City at Atlantic Aviation in Salt Lake City. And then 36 minutes later, the Charlie Kirk show starts. That was the hour I just played a couple of clips of, using fair use, Andrew. Don't complain. That was totally fair use. We made commentary. But that's when the Charlie Kirk show started. So this just gives you an idea of what's going on, right? We have a plane leaving Scottsdale for Provo. Charlie Kirk left Scottsdale for Provo, landed in Salt Lake City, and then the Charlie Kirk show started. This plane right here, this gold plane, N560TW, lands in Provo. As it lands, this SUB&D, this is an Egyptian plane right here, this transponder turns on. This transponder turns on, and it stays on for about an hour and a half. That leads me to believe that somebody on the ground in Provo, Utah, at least had the opportunity, should they wanted to have taken advantage of it, to use the communications and the whatever else is provided by the transponder turning on, the power of the plane, for at least an hour and 29 minutes. Because as that plane lands, exactly as that plane lands, the transponder comes on. And then about 19 minutes later, the plane leaves Provo. The plane that just landed, this N560TW that Erika said had the Y-Refi guy on it, it leaves Provo. We later learn it's headed to Santa Barbara. The interesting thing about that, and this is where people are getting stuck, they don't understand the significance of this plane. This is a highly significant moment. This line 7 right here, this row 7, this plane leaving Provo and going to Santa Barbara is huge, because at this point in time, according to the official narrative, according to the FedSlop narrative, Andrew Kolvet had no plans to leave Santa Barbara that day. He wasn't going to Scottsdale. He wasn't going to Provo. He was just going to be in Santa Barbara. So it raises the question of who was this plane going to get? Because Charlie Kirk would not be shot or boomed or banged or whatever it is. He would not be taken down for another hour and 59 minutes. So who knew ahead of time that Andrew might need a plane in Santa Barbara? Because I think he was on that plane. It's my guess he was on that plane. So that's a very critical entry on this timeline. 6 minutes after that plane leaves Provo, Charlie takes the stage at the Restaurantology Summit in Salt Lake City. That's that weird interview that nobody can really give a good explanation of why he had an interview. He was so worried about this UVU event that allegedly he's texting Andrew right before the event. He's texting Frank Turek right before the event. He has Frank Turek fly in for the weekend right before the event, or the couple of days right before the event, right after he got back from Korea. He's so worried about it. They're going over LDS talking points. They're going over talking points about polygamy and other things that might come up. He's just drilling this topic. But rather than actually prepare on the morning of, they have him getting a bad night's sleep, rushing to the airport, flying to Salt Lake City, doing an interview, hustling from Salt Lake City by SUV back to Provo. It doesn't sound consistent with how important Charlie was taking, how important this was to Charlie that he get it right. But Charlie takes the stage at the Restaurantology Summit. There's a video of it here. I'm not going to play it just for time because we're running way behind. And then 10:57 a.m. Utah time, that was the sign-off, the weird sign-off that Andrew Kolvet just gave. That's the weird sign-off that Andrew Kolvet just gave about we've got to steamroll these people. We got to go after them. We got to get them. We've got to make sure that we're tackling this violence epidemic. We got to go after the ideology. That was that weird sign-off. (11:21 a.m.) After Andrew has signed off, 24 minutes later, Charlie leaves the summit for the UVU event. And we have, again, I could pull it up and show you the clip, but I'm not going to. It's not a clip. It's a statement somebody made on a blog. But I could show you the timeline because there was someone at the Restaurantology Summit that did a detailed timeline of Charlie Kirk's morning, which I'm very thankful they did because it gives us a context. It allows us to help build out this timeline. But according to that woman, Charlie Kirk left precisely at 11:21. I see your note, Daisy. After Charlie Kirk leaves the summit for the UVU event, after he leaves the summit, Axel 10 leaves Kalispell. This is 11:30 a.m. This is 53 minutes before the Big Bang. This is the plane that was in the CIA hotspot of Kalispell. It had flown from El Paso. It had already done one very low pass over Provo Airport. It had done one very close pass to the UVU campus at a very, very low altitude, at a very, very low speed, just a couple of hours before. But it leaves Kalispell heading back, frankly, to Provo. 11:50 a.m. 11:50 a.m. On this podcast, Andrew Kolvet did on the New York Times. Again, I'm not going to pull it up because we've already gone through and played it. And if you want to see it, you can go look for it and watch it. But Andrew says he has a series of rapid fire text exchanges with Charlie Kirk at 11:50 a.m. This is important for several reasons. One reason is Charlie Kirk's in the car on the way to Provo from Salt Lake City. He had just left about 30 minutes earlier. So he's more than halfway to Provo, Utah, or to Orem, Utah, rather, for the UVU event. He has a series of rapid fire texts with Andrew about polygamy, of all things. They're really big on polygamy on this thing for some reason. I guess because they're in Utah. There's this stereotype that members of the LDS faith, they prefer polygamy, or at least there was a historical basis for it of some way. And I guess he thought he would be asked about it, and he wanted to be prepared. So they were talking philosophically about why monogamy is better than polygamy. Interesting coming from, well, they have a text exchange. This is 11:50 a.m. The reason we know it's 11:50 a.m. is because on that podcast Andrew Kolvet has with Ross Douthat from the New York Times, he throws out the weird number 33. He says it was 33 minutes before Charlie passed away. It was the last text exchange he had. And it was this rapid fire talking point text that Charlie Kirk had with Andrew Kolvet. Again, Charlie would have been about 10 minutes out, 8 minutes out from UVU. And he's in there apparently texting with Andrew about monogamy. And then at 11:57, the pre-recorded second hour of the Charlie Kirk event ends. And then 12:15 is when this plane lands in Santa Barbara. Again, this is an important data point, because if Andrew got on this N560 Tango Whiskey plane, if he got on that plane, that means the plane was dispatched at 10:24 a.m., 1 hour and 59 minutes before Charlie Kirk went down. It landed in Santa Barbara 8 minutes before Charlie Kirk went down. That's, again, a very important data point when you're looking at the timeline. That's why I wanted to see it visually. I wanted to put up a visual timeline because there were people, even after we did the whole thing about why it was important that this plane was involved, if Andrew was on this plane, to me it reveals potentially, in my opinion, very strong evidence that there was a plot to remove Charlie Kirk from this planet. People still at the end of it were emailing, texting, commenting in the comments on YouTube, X, other places saying, I don't understand the relevance. I don't understand why you believe that reveals a plot. It reveals a plot because the reason the plane was there doesn't make sense if Andrew then gets on the plane. Why did it go to Santa Barbara? Andrew wasn't supposed to be getting on a plane in Santa Barbara. Andrew Kolvet tells us that he was sitting at his desk when he got the text that something had happened to Charlie Kirk. Well, that's not possible if he's on this plane, because that plane lands at 12:15. The Big Bang happens at 12:23. And then at 12:28 is when Andrew Kolvet gets the call from the girl on the team that said they shot Charlie. That's where he gets the call. They shot Charlie. He can't be sitting at his desk at 12:28 and get that call if he boards a plane at 12:33. If he boards a plane that leaves at 12:33. So this line, this row 16 and 17 right here, these two lines together, that solves the case, in my opinion. If you can put Andrew on this plane at 12:33, that totally fundamentally upends the case. And I believe there is strong evidence from which a person can rationally draw an opinion that Andrew Kolvet was on that plane. We'll get to that in just a moment. But I hope the timeline helps clarify why that's such a big deal for me. the risk of repeating myself, this is the key. If Andrew's not on this plane, it's a different ballgame. If Andrew actually doesn't leave until 4:30, that's a totally different ballgame. Or 3:30, whatever time. That's a totally different ballgame. That means Andrew very well could have been sitting at his desk. He very well at that time could have ordered up a plane. He very well at that time could have gathered himself, collected himself, gone to the airport, gotten on the plane. But there's a problem with that. There's a problem with that, and I'll tell you what it is in just a moment. So that plane leaves at 12:33. At 12:40, Candace is texting Andrew. 12:40, Candace is texting Andrew, and Andrew tells Candace that he was for sure shot. He was for sure shot. You can get text on a private airplane. You can get text on a private airplane, but not always calls. And it's interesting that 2 outbound calls to Andrew Kolvet went straight to voicemail at 12:42. We know this for a fact. 2 outbound calls to Andrew Kolvet were missed at 12:42. So he's able to text. He's not getting calls. 12:51. Justin Strife and Marina Minas at the TPUSA headquarters are together in person, and they call one of their employees and ask her, Aubrey Leitch, to draft the statement that Charlie Kirk had been shot or that he had been injured. They were in the process of confirming if he'd been shot, that it's an ongoing situation. That's the nature of the statement they asked him to draft. You have to ask yourself, why would you ask if you have a professional PR guy, Andrew Kolvet, who's the executive producer of the Charlie Kirk show, who's the information guy, the PR guy for TPUSA. The biggest event in the history of TPUSA has just happened. You're not asking him to draft it. You're asking a girl named Aubrey to draft it. Just a girl who works there. It's a little bit weird. It's a data point that when you see it on the timeline, you go, oh, that's a potential reason they were asking her to draft it. They were asking her to draft it because Andrew couldn't draft it. He was on a plane. At 12:55 p.m., the Axel 10 plane does the loop over UVU. This is the plane that left Kalispell. It comes in very low over UVU, 100 or 200 feet. We had somebody in the comments that said they were there that day and they remember the plane coming in super, super low. It was just over the building tops. It was flying at a very slow speed. 12:56, there's a text from Marina. And that text from Marina is requesting that some additional language be put into the statement that Charlie Kirk is in the hospital. Again, this didn't go to Andrew. It went to an employee at TPUSA. Why can't Andrew draft this? Why is an employee doing this? This is Andrew's job. These texts are very deferential to Andrew. Andrew has to approve all this. Why isn't Andrew just drafting it? 12:58 on this same podcast, this same New York Times podcast, Andrew says, I knew that Charlie Kirk had died 30 to 40 minutes after he got shot or he went down. I think he said he got shot. That would be between 12:53 and 1:03. Remember, Andrew could get texts. Someone could text Andrew on this plane and say, did you know that Charlie Kirk had been shot and he's passed away? That was 30 to 4 minutes later. We put it at 35 minutes for the sake of the timeline because we didn't want to put 2 entries, 30 minutes and 40 minutes. So we put it at 12:58, but it could have been as early as 12:53. It could have been as late as 1:03 Utah time. Andrew is in the air, allegedly, potentially on this plane. He's certainly not able to take phone calls, but he is able to take texts, at least according to the sources we've talked to. And he said by that time, Erika had gotten the call and flew straight to Provo. So Erika, at this point, according to Andrew, Erika at that point at 12:58 is one of the people who got the call that Charlie was dead. 1:02 p.m. There's a telegram feed, can confirm he's been shot. And Aubrey proceeds with the statement. Again, Andrew doesn't call. Andrew doesn't draft the statement. Andrew just confirms. Andrew just confirms that he's been shot. At that point, 1:10 p.m., this N40JD leaves Scottsdale, heading to Provo. That's a different plane. At 1:19 p.m., Candace and Andrew have a conversation where Andrew says he has a pulse, don't know anything else. But remember, according to Andrew in the New York Times, he's aware Charlie's dead 30 to 40 minutes after. So either Andrew misremembered the New York Times, intentionally misled the New York Times, misremembered to Candace, maybe Candace misremembered, or somehow the story's different. So he tells the New York Times Charlie's dead. He tells tells Candace that he has a pulse. So there's two different stories going on this timeline. The BUND transponder comes on. The BUND transponder comes on at 1:40, and the plane lands in Scottsdale at 1:44 p.m. Now, there's a possible tarmac hug. You remember Candace talked about the tarmac hug. This is where it's possible Andrew was doing the tarmac hug. This is where it's possible Andrew's doing the tarmac hug. If he landed in Scottsdale on this plane and Erika's at the tarmac, and we'll talk about that in a moment, whether she was there. If they're there at the same time, that would be a potential place they could do a tarmac hug. We'll talk about why they couldn't do a tarmac hug in a minute in Orem, Utah, or in Provo, Utah. Then he responds to Aubrey, no, about going on to Laura Ingraham on Fox. Marina Minas calls Aubrey and says not to say anything, but she needs her to write the message to the world that Charlie's no longer with us. Andrew can't because he is on a plane. So at least at 2:05 p.m. Utah time, Marina Minas, one of the C-suite executives at TPUSA, believes Andrew's on a plane or had recently been on a plane and can't do it. That becomes a significant data point in this, because why does she believe he's on a plane if he doesn't get on a plane for another hour and a half? It seems to me she believes he's on a plane at this point. 2:11 p.m. So this plane, this N560TW that was in Scottsdale, flew to Provo, was in Provo, flew to Santa Barbara, was in Santa Barbara, flew to Scottsdale, and landed. After it lands, now the N102DZ plane lands in Scottsdale. This is Charlie Kirk's plane. This is the plane that took Charlie Kirk to Salt Lake City in the morning. It has come back, presumably to pick up Erika Kirk. It has come back to Scottsdale. It lands in Scottsdale. I'll show you in a minute where it landed and how that ties in, where it parked when it landed, and how that ties into what Candace revealed on her last episode. 2:27 p.m., there's an internal email about Charlie Kirk's death. There's a question of whether the statement has been approved, and then told that there needs to be additional approval before it can go out. 2:29 p.m., the plane we talked about earlier that left Scottsdale lands in Provo, and the Egyptian transponder comes back on. The Axel 10 plane lands in at Fort Biggs in El Paso. And then 2:31, this N102 Delta Zulu plane, Charlie Kirk's plane, the Gulfstream 5, leaves. And Erika tells the New York Times, she leads everyone to believe she was on this plane. I now believe she might very well have been on this plane. Earlier, I doubted she was on this plane. I now believe she very well could be on this plane. But she tells the New York Times she was airborne when she found out Charlie Kirk was dead. The reality is people had known Charlie Kirk was dead for an hour and a half, maybe longer, before this plane took off. So I don't know why she would tell the New York Times that. Maybe they hid it from her. I don't know. I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think that you wouldn't tell the widow when he was dead. But if Andrew knew 30 to 40 minutes after it happened, why would Erika Kirk not know 30 to 40 minutes after it happened? Didn't somebody call her from the hospital? Wouldn't that be the proper thing to do in the hospital? Hey, we just found out the patient didn't make it. Well, we need to call his wife. Or do you call Andrew first? Or do you call someone at TPUSA first? And they sort of circulate it and everybody in town knows about it. And you got people in 4 different states and they all know about it. And then you wait until the widow gets up in the air before you tell her? That would be weird. In my opinion, that would be very weird. 2:31 p.m., she's in the air. That's 9 minutes later. The Trump death announcement comes out. That's when Donald Trump tells the world he's passed away. 2:45 p.m., Aubrey reached out to leadership for the death statement approval again. And then at 3:12 p.m., this is the plane Erika told Candace Owens that Andrew actually was on. And I leave open the possibility he was on that plane. I'm just saying if he was on that plane, there are a lot of other inexplicable things, like why wasn't he able to be reached by phone? Why did Marina Minas think he was already on a plane an hour and a half before this? Like there's a lot of things that don't add up to me if he was indeed on this plane. If he was on this plane, where did the tarmac hug take place? Andrew told Candace that he fell into Erika's arms on the tarmac. Where did that hug take place? Because the timeline won't add up. 3:17 p.m., the official death statement goes out to the press. 3:26 p.m., Andrew says on Telegram, sorry, on plane, this just loaded. Keep in mind, this plane and this plane both in the air at the same time. EK set to arrive at Provo Airport per police scanners. This is 3:30. This is 3:30. They say that Erika is about to land at the airport and that they need to escort her to the hospital. So they send police units to the airport at 3:30 to escort her to the hospital. 4 o'clock, Frank Turek says she arrived at the hospital. When that timeline adds up, plane lands at 3:32. It has to taxi into a gate. They have to get off the plane. They have to get to the police escort. They have to drive across town. You're thinking 4 o'clock. That's about the right time. That's about the right time. But if Andrew's on this purple plane here and it's in the air from 3:12 to 4:38, and Erika lands on this plane here at 3:32 and is in the hospital by 4, when is the tarmac hug? When does he fall into her arms? When does he let all the pressure out? When does he let his emotions go into Erika's arms? When does that happen? It doesn't. It can't. They would not have seen each other yet that day. That's why I don't believe Andrew was on the purple plane. That, among other reasons, I don't believe he was on the purple plane. 4:18, Justin says they need to wait until Andrew's on the ground. Oh, whoop, I didn't mean to open that. 4:25 p.m., Andrew says my internet just came back on. And then 4:38 p.m. is when this plane finally stops taxiing in Provo, Utah. I believe this statement right here, my internet just came back on, I believe that was him lying. That's just my opinion, but I believe that was him not telling the truth. I believe he was trying to deke out people, letting them know he had just landed when he had actually been on the ground for more than an hour. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. Not stating it as fact. In the immediate hours after, do you remember this? In the immediate hours after, Erika gets there's a weird that takes place in the immediate hours after. Let me play this here real quickly because this is a very bizarre moment. Why would you ask a widow this question in the immediate hours after the event? The woman has just become a widow. She has 2 small children at home. She's panicked. She's stricken with fear. She doesn't know what's going on. They don't know who did it. There's a gunman on the loose. chaos all over town. There's an international manhunt basically for this guy. And this question is posed to Erika Kirk in the immediate hours afterwards.
Just add one more thing, and I want Mikey to chime in here as well. But in the immediate hours afterwards, Erika got a call from somebody very important. Leave that vague, out of privacy, but she got a call from somebody very important. And the question was, what do you know? Sort of asking how much of what's going on behind the scenes and with the relationship, like, what do you know? And her reply back was, everything.
That's a weird statement to me. Why would a very powerful, important person be contacting a widow of about 2 hours, the immediate hours afterwards, to say, what do you know about what's going on behind the scenes and the relationships? Huh? Can I go find my husband's corpse? Can I go look at him one more time? Can I identify the body, please? Can I say my goodbyes? In the immediate hours afterwards, Erika gets a call from someone very important. Are we talking Trump, Vance? Who are we talking about? What do you know about what's going on behind the scenes and the relationships? What does that mean? He never explained what point he was trying to make. It's such a weird, bizarre point. It's the type of point that I just don't understand for the life of me is being made. I don't understand it. So let me switch gears again, because I want to provide a little illumination to something Candace broke the other day that was, frankly, if true, blows this case wide open. Erika's story has been that she was at her mom's doctor's appointment. I'm here to tell you that's not true. I don't believe that's true. My opinion, that's not true. I think we'll find out in the coming days that that's not true. And I think there's evidence it's not true. I think there's written evidence it's not true. So she's lying. In my opinion, evidence will come out very soon that she's not telling the truth. So it raises the question, where was she? And why is she lying about it? If she was just at home, why not just say, I was at home with my kids? I was at home with myself. Maybe my kids were out of daycare or whatever. I was at the grocery store. I was getting my nails done. My husband had been gone. He was going to come back in a couple of days. I wanted to look my best. Why say you were at your mom's appointment with your mom if you weren't there? And again, I think there's compelling evidence she wasn't there, and I think we'll all see it soon. Assuming that's true, I have to weigh what Candace said with a degree of certainty, because Candace places her somewhere else. And I think we can bolster the case today. I'll show you in just a moment that I think she might be right. I'll show you some very detailed data in a moment that tends to support what Candace is saying here. But let me first let you hear from her.
Why would you spend this money to be inside sharing this with Atlantic Aviation? It just seemed weird to me. So I then went to the team. I said, let's look at this. And similarly, they thought that it looked funny on the map, just looked weird. And at certain times when I was trying to find Hopkinson aircraft, it almost appeared as though there was a building that was behind Atlantic FBO, but that was separate from Atlantic FBO. So finally, I had a genius idea. I said, why don't I just send someone anonymously to contact Hopkinson, to contact Atlantic, and see what the deal is, right? Is there really an office inside of Atlantic? And remarkably, we were able to determine that Hopkinson is indeed in a building that is separate from Atlantic, but Atlantic accepts all of their mail. And the reason that Atlantic does that is because Hopkinson does not actually have its own address. It's in a building that stands alone and is separate from Atlantic FBO terminal, where you would fly out if you were going private. And this is a brokerage firm, okay? This is aircraft brokerage. They sell planes, and they have no address. Their address, they use Atlantic address. Atlantic receives all of their packages, all of their mail, but their location is separate, and it's next door. and it's kind of hidden. That's why I was having trouble locating it. I'm going to show you that. This is the building that Erika was allegedly in when she found out from the doctor that Charlie was not going to make it. I'm going to show you that. So you have Atlantic there on the right. We're now coming inward. Yep, pointing that in the mouse. We're now coming inward. It's this rather obscure building right here.
That rather obscure building right there. This little tiny building right here. That is what she is saying is Hopkinson. So we got to work. Can we verify any evidence, any collateral attack on whether or not this is indeed where Erika was? I'll show it to you on Google Earth just so you can get a little better idea of what we're talking about here. This is the Google Earth version, and I'm going to show it this way because when we show you the ADS-B map in just a second, that's this little building right here that she's talking about. This is Atlantic Aviation right here, but this little building here is kind of over to the right a little bit. Now, I'm going to show you what typically happens because if you're using this over here, your plane is going to come down and it's going to use this, what's called A4 turn right here. I'll show you that on a map in just a moment, and it's going to come in here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is going to, ads are going to pop up on this. I just can't help it. This is the N102 Delta Zulu plane. This is the plane that Charlie used that morning that Erika allegedly used that afternoon. This is the plane, but this is the plane as it exists on September, what date is this? August 27th, excuse me. This is August 27th. There are the ads come popping in. So see how it says A4 right here? Can you see that? It says A4. It used this A4 thing, and it rolls in because it's picking people up that are in this building right here. This is the Atlantic Aviation she was just talking about. So I'm going to scroll forward through several days, and I want you to see where this plane goes when it comes and goes typically. It comes out this little A4 area right here. That's August 27th. No action on August 28th. Let me roll forward here. Oh, there's September 1st. Look, A4. It's over here. We go to the next day, September 2nd. You see the little trail of it right here. That's A4. That's where it was leaving to go out. There's September 3rd, A4 right here again. September 4th, you see it comes in and does a little loop right here on A4, picking people up presumably from Atlantic Aviation right there. September 5th, look, it's parked on A4 right here. That's where it went and came from that day. September 6th, September 7th, nothing. September 8th, it's going down A4 right there. September 9th, nothing. Now we get to September 10th. Look where the plane was. The plane wasn't over here on this side where it had always been before. The plane's all the way over here by this little Hopkinson's building right here. It used a different exit of the runway. So this is the runway here. It had always come over here to where the Hopkinson people board, not the Hopkinson people, excuse me, the Atlantic Aviation people board, but not on September 10th. It came over here, and I can go leg by leg and show you this. This is the return flight here. That's where it went. It came in. That's it right there at 444. 244, excuse me. That's it at 226. It lands right there. 212, excuse me. It lands right there at 212. It comes over here and parks at 213, and it starts taking off to leave. And away it goes at 227. So it comes in, picks people up over here in a different location, not over here where the Atlantic people are, but over here where a different place is. It's right next to this building right here. It's down one. Now keep in mind, this is an airport. That's a long way. Airports make everything look small. Keep in mind, an airport runway is over a mile long. This is over a mile. And so you're talking about a pretty good little jaunt from here to here, even though it doesn't look very long, it is. These planes are going very fast when they're climbing around there. So it's a data point. It's a data point. It tends to support the idea that this plane, again, I'll show it to you on the Google Earth so you'll see a little more what I'm talking about. It tends to support that there may have been activity in a different place than normal. Instead of being down here on this side, it's up here on this side, right next to this little building here where Candace's source puts Erika Kirk. Just a little different place here. Again, just a data point. So, humans are creatures of habit. We are people who recognize patterns because patterns are survival, right? If I see a cute, lovable, fuzzy kitten, I might go pet it. Because in 46 years on Earth, most little, lovable, fuzzy kittens are pretty sweet. They're not big and strong enough to bite me. They don't particularly scratch all that much. They just sort of do this, right? And they give you an ear. They kind of like roll over and give you a belly. If I see a king cobra in the wild, I'm probably not going to go up and pet it. Why? Because king cobras tend to bite people and kill them. A rattlesnake, not going to go pet it. Little tiny puppy, might go pet it. Because we're creatures of pattern. We recognize patterns. I've never met this cat. It could be a vicious killer. But the pattern in my head, the pattern ingrained in my head suggests that kitten is probably going to be okay. And even if it's a little aggressive, it's super tiny. And I just kind of do this and it goes away. The rattlesnake is going to strike with lightning speed. It's going to inject venom in me in all likelihood. That's the pattern we've come to accept. So I don't pet rattlesnakes. I do pet little fuzzy, lovable 6-week-old kittens, right? That's the difference. And so if you see somebody walk up and pet a rattlesnake and the rattlesnake starts, leaning into the pet like a kitten might, that's a pattern break. That's noticeable. That's weird. You make a mental note of that and you say, that's unusual. That's not supposed to happen. Same thing with this airplane. I see it go on A4, 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 A4 because it's picking people up at the building next door. And that makes a lot of sense to me. And then one day it goes to A5 and it parks right in front of a little bitty obscure building nobody even noticed was there. That's a pattern break. That's somebody petting a cobra. That stands out. That's worth noting. That's worth noting. So I bring all that up to say that this timeline and the statements they've made in the days, weeks, and months after Charlie Kirk went down, I think we need to hold them to these statements. We need to develop a timeline, we're doing, that holds their feet to the fire. And if they change their statements because now they realize we know too much, we need to be able to point that out. If he tries to say, in fact, no, actually, I thought about it, there was no air tarmac hug, Candace comes out and owes us an explanation. Did he tell you that or not? If he tries to come out and say, well, actually, I was drafting this, were you drafting the statement or not? Actually, I was on it. Were you on the ground or not? You got to hold them to the timeline they've given us. Because if this timeline is as we suggested, then I think there's evidence, in my opinion, there's evidence that something nefarious was afoot. Potentially up to and including participation or at least foreknowledge that Charlie Kirk would be removed that day. And that's a devastating detail. It's an absolutely devastating detail. I don't believe that anybody thought that on March 27th, 2026, 6 months and 17 days after Charlie Kirk went down, that a lot of people would be sitting around looking at flights, looking at what exit they took from the runway, talking to people at obscure small buildings at the Scottsdale airport who said, actually, I do remember seeing her there. And we've rolled the security footage back and you'll never get, hey, I'm just telling you. I don't think they knew this was going to happen. I don't think they knew it was going to happen. I don't think they realized that anybody was going to be able to follow up and determine whether or not Erika really was with her mom. I don't think she was. And I think all the Fed sloppers out there, I was watching earlier an exchange with Gary and Zach. I'm going to watch the whole thing later. I think all the Fed sloppers have to come to some sort of an agreement that if we can establish that these guys were lying about their whereabouts on that day, it becomes a rebuttable presumption that they might have been involved. I think it becomes a rebuttable presumption. Because they're making a big deal out of, you can't prove this, you can't prove that, you can't prove that. Well, it's not our burden to prove anything. It's our burden to ask questions about what we're being told and say, does that hold up? I mean, that's the nature of the defense. Not saying I'm operating on the defense of Tyler. I'm operating on the general defense that I don't believe the story they're telling us. I don't believe it makes sense. I don't believe it adds up. I don't believe it is what it is. I don't agree with what they're trying to force feed us. It's Fed slop. I don't like Fed slop. Tastes like Alpo, but worse. Rotten Alpo. Green Alpo. It's got maggots in it. You guys apparently love it. But I think if we can prove, and I think it's coming very soon, if we can prove Erika was not with her mother at a medical appointment that day, and she said she was, I think all the Fed sloppers need to go, whoa, well, we now have questions. We now have questions that we need to solve. I think if we can prove Andrew was on that earlier flight, it's an opinion. It may be wrong. I am subject to revising any of these opinions in light of better evidence. If I get better evidence, I will be the first to come up here and say it. I think at some point, for example, we're going to get a glimpse of the video footage on top of the roof. If you read the prosecution's charging document, it says that the guy climbed the stairs and then stood on the roof for 8 minutes. Does that make sense to you? Does it make sense to you that Tyler Robinson, ready, willing, able to execute Charlie Kirk from 426 feet away, lying in a prone position, rifle probably perched on a backpack, with a miraculous 30-06 that for some reason does not escape the neck? Does it make sense to you he would go through all this prep? He would learn a week ahead of time that Charlie Kirk was going to be in town. He would go scout the location, whether by Google Maps, maybe he drove up there early. We don't know. We haven't been told. He would somehow miraculously find out, even though reporters couldn't find out, where exactly Charlie Kirk would be. Tyler knew. Tyler was aware. Tyler intuited it. Or maybe he had inside information. Maybe he had a source at UVU. We don't know. Maybe we'll find out. Does it make sense to you that Tyler would go through all this planning, all this trip preparation, zero his rifle in at 142 yards, 426 feet, that he would build up the nerve to drive up to the campus that morning, park his car, walk into campus, survey the scene, presumably. That's what they're leading us to believe in the charging documents. He drove there at 8-something, entered campus, walked around, presumably surveyed the scene, made sure the stairwell was open, might have even walked up there and looked at the roof to see where they were setting up the tent. Might have gotten a rangefinder out. Who knows what he was doing up there? Get back to his car, drove around a little bit for some reason, parks his car again, a different location this time for some reason, walks into campus a different way this time for some reason, enters campus at 11:51, 11:52 a.m., makes his way over to the stairwell at 12:11, wastes, for whatever reason, 4 or 5, 10 minutes, whatever it is, down at the bottom of the stairwell. We don't know what he was doing, where, how, why. He makes his way up to the stairwell. And he gets over the rail at 12:15. But he doesn't take the shot until 12:23. We are to believe he does all of this and then just sits and waits and stands there. What's he waiting on? What is he doing? Why did it take him 30 minutes from the time he got to the bottom of the stairwell until we heard the shot, the alleged shot? Is that consistent with how assassins operate? Amateur assassins, not professionals. We're not talking about a military trained individual. We're not talking about somebody who's performed under fire overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan. We're talking about a 22-year-old kid who plays Magic the Gathering in video games. Is that how they operate? They have the discipline to get in position and just sit for 8 minutes. If I sat here for 8 minutes, there's 22,048 people on live right now. If I sat here for 8 minutes of dead silence, there wouldn't be 100 people left. That was 4 seconds, and it was excruciating. We're talking about 120 times that long. Doesn't make sense to me. It's a guy petting a cobra. People don't pet cobras. People don't pet cobras. When you see these pattern breaks, when you see people getting caught in a lie about what they were doing that day, where they were, assuming we can catch them, and I think we have in some instances, the Fed sloppers must reevaluate. The Andrew Smiths, who Zach Costello had a conversation with, Gary, who Zach Costello had a conversation with, they need to, in my opinion, they need to reevaluate. They need to acknowledge and reevaluate. That's my opinion. I have one more piece, but I may hold it. I see your note there, but I may hold it, this piece right here, for Sunday night, because we're already at 1 hour and 40 minutes. And I do have a hard stop tonight. I've got plans with my 3 boys. So okay. So let me do this. Let me get through some of your questions. I appreciate you joining me here. I know it's earlier than normal. Some of you, that might have been a difficult grab. We might have a different mix of people in the Q&A than we normally have, because some of our regulars might not be able to make it until later. Some of the people who are in early might not be regular live viewers, but normal replay viewers who are able to catch us live because we're earlier. I appreciate all of you joining us. It's been a wonderful day. But let me go through some of this here and answer any questions you have. How do you balance protecting yourself and smearing others in the public perception? We are a nonprofit cat cafe, and the trolls are real. Thanks for your transparency and realness. How do you balance protecting yourself and smearing others? I don't know. Honesty is always the best policy. Honesty and documentation are great. If you can provide honesty and documentation, I don't run from any of my critics. Trust me, I get the messages. You guys think you're slick, you're not. I get messages that, so-and-so is trying to get me to talk about, Barron was involved in a court case. Guys, I've talked about it like 10 times. I'll talk about it anytime. I would suggest the same thing. If you had a bad experience with a customer, don't hide from it. Don't lie about it. Just say, yeah, we had a bad experience with that customer. We've learned from that, and we're going to do better. Smearing others, I don't recommend, particularly if they're competitors. I don't think that's a good look. But I don't know. Without specifics, I don't know how to answer your specific question. But thank you for your compliment. Baron, your success is well-deserved. You have to work hard to be a king. Oh, a king, podcaster, and a new country music star all at once. It's a country music sensation, sir. You talking about my new hit "Hold Please" by Adfleet? Yeah, it's a. You know how hard it is to get Candace to sing backup. She's the principal. She's used to being in the front, and I had her, but it's okay. It's okay. My son did say it was a little creepy, but I'm his dad. It might be weird seeing country music sensation. You educate us, storytell, and entertain us. I've been here since September. Thank you. I actually went back and looked week by week at what the subscriber count was. You people who claim to be here since September, there were only like 400 of you. So you guys are early, bro. Early. Megan Kelly, 925, episode 1152, hosts Charlie Kirk Show at 6 p.m. regarding the left's insane posts. Andrew says, some people are processing their guilt differently. Yes, guilt. At 4340, Megan says she found Charlie Kirk had on bulletproof vest. They didn't correct her. I understand not correcting a guest who gets something wrong. I've actually been a guest on a few podcasts. And when the host says something that's wrong, but it's not really relevant to what we're talking about, I just kind of let it go. You know, you don't bring somebody on to make them feel ignorant or make them look bad in front of your guests. So I think it's a pretty interesting point, but at the time there were a lot of people talking about a potential bulletproof vest, and maybe they didn't know. I think by then they probably knew, but as far as the guilt thing, I've seen that clip going around. It's hilarious. Freudian slips are real, folks. They happen. Love your content. First time being able to watch live. I figured that would happen, Vaughn. I figured people would be able to watch live who typically are not able to catch it because we do run a little later in the evening usually. Good call on the email. Capitalize your time. What American history do you recommend for high school? This Christian homeschool mom from Kenai, Alaska could play good money for real barren history lectures for teens. Yeah, I'm not going to put any homeschool curriculum together. One thing I like is narrative histories. So long form podcasts, there's a lot of them out there. I don't want to start naming names, but people who don't just do facts, but they get into actual, like I'll give you an example. PBS. Who's the guy who does all the documentaries on PBS? Ken Burns. He's got a great one on like the American West. He's got a great one on the Civil War. My 14-year-old son is watching the Civil War documentary now. It's what we've declared part of his history curriculum. It's great because it gets into the stories and they actually are taken there. It's not just the Battle of Shiloh took place from April 3 through April 5. 63,000 people died. It talks to you about what the people of the Battle of Shiloh were eating, what their lives were like, what their living conditions were like. You can almost smell the tents. It's a great thing. So I like that kind of stuff. There are a lot of good podcasts out there. I don't want to name them. But there's some really good long form historical podcasts of people who do a good job. B just got to Sneakergate portion of the members only. And I'm with you on the black gym sneakers. Thank you. I had all black. Now I rock the black gum innovates. The FedEx driver comment had me dying though. Yeah. If you guys weren't on the members show, your humble host got roasted for his footwear. It was real. Don't forget to like the program today, by the way. Go ahead, subscribe if you haven't. It helps. Do we honestly believe anything will happen to them if we can prove they had something to do with it? I feel it'll have to wait for God's court. I think honestly, if we can definitively prove these people were not where they said they were, it's going to be very hard for a court to disregard that, or a law enforcement community to disregard that. I think it'll be very difficult. Even if they can prove Tyler Robinson was on the roof and he did take a shot and it was a bullet that miraculously didn't exit. Like if they can prove all that, your humble host will change his mind. I think it's a very high burden and I don't know that they'll be able to, but if they could prove all that, I would change my mind. I'm not irrational. I'm not married to any of this. I don't think they'll be able to, but if they can, so be it. But I still think if these people weren't where they said they were and they were moving before the event, you've got to raise the very real possibility that they were aware of it. Not only were they aware of it, they might be in on it. And I think it deserves a better examination. Kalispell equals Constellus, formerly Blackwater USA, private military contractor founded on December 26, 1977 by former Navy SEAL officer Eric Prince, provides CIA with paid teams. What city did you say that was? Constellus? Are they in Kalispell? This says Herndon, Virginia. Let me look. I don't see any. Actually, I see some contra. I'll have to look at that. That's interesting. I am seeing a little bit there. I'll have to see if there's the connection. Thank you for putting me on that. My senior psych paper was on Patty Hearst and SLA. That sounds like a fun paper. Baron, if New Channel has a playlist of your crash outs, I'm here for it all day long. Crash outs will be included. I'll put them all in there. We'll find it. We'll track them down and put them in there. Because of your earlier show tonight, I can finally watch live from Johannesburg, South Africa. I'm a big fan of your work and totally obsessed with this case being resolved and the truth winning. Thank you. Thanks for joining us live. I appreciate that. And thanks for the Czar bucks. English equals Jesus. Hebrew, Yeshua. Yeshua's king. Yeah, I just don't understand. We don't speak Hebrew, though. That's what I'm saying. That's why she's reckoning back to a comment I made. I don't remember if it was the member show or a recent program. But I don't understand why people, English-speaking people, are using Yeshua. We don't speak Hebrew. We literally say nothing else in Hebrew. So why are we deferring to the Hebrew pronunciation there? We all know who Jesus is. I'm not angry about it. I'm just asking. Do my best to catch you live. Love your opening statements. Don't always stay for all the chats. It's that simple. No need to complain. God bless you. Huh? You be you, boo-boo. Is there a link somewhere for merch? Good bless. Yes, it got shut down again today. I'm changing banks. So Wells Fargo sucks. Let me just say, they suck. If you work there, I'm sorry. Your bank sucks. I have now done a little research and realized that they do not do this. They do not do these types of transactions. They just don't permit it. So I got to change banks. And so it's gonna delay the mass rollout of the merch pretty soon. We did fine with the X subscribers getting access to it. They didn't have many problems. When we rolled it out to the YouTube subscribers, there came problems every day. And when I've talked to so many people at Wells Fargo, they're the most unhelpful human beings I've ever encountered. And they finally just told me, you're gonna have to go somewhere else. Like we're not gonna allow you to do it. And it's not a viewpoint thing. They're not set up for this. And there's no override switch. I'm like, just override all these transactions. I'll take responsibility for them. They said, no, we can't do that. So I said, fine, I'll go somewhere else. And when I looked online, a lot of other people had the same experience with them. Dear Baron, love your show and what you're doing for Charlie, but can you please pronounce Adidas correctly, the German way? I don't know the German way. And I'm not German, but I do appreciate you, E-Bucks. Thank you. I like your shoes. I'm 42 and still have swag. I wonder if they will pay off TR to take a plea deal, or he dies because why else is TPUSA so dead set on guilt? Well, this is let's just assume I'm right. Let's just, of the opinion, let's just operate on that assumption that TR was a patsy. Tyler Robinson was a patsy. Him being convicted is critical to pulling this off. If he gets acquitted, the investigation remains open. If the investigation remains open and other people involved, they might go down for it. So it's critical. That's why they're in panic mode, in my opinion. They wanted this gun months ago. Months ago, they wanted us to be moving on to other things. Bad news, not doing it. Yay, England here. Perfect time for live. Yeah, that would have been 3 o'clock England. That would have been 9, 10 o'clock p.m. That would have been perfect. Oh, 8, 9, 10 o'clock. I don't know what time it is. Thank you, Baron, for fighting for good, doing God's work. I'm doing my best over here, young lady, young man. Oh, son of God, young man. Son of God, that's a bold claim. Did you guys see the lady asking Frank Turek what 40 people were erased? What 40 plus people were erased? And she was there and sounded like the gunshot came from there, but video only shows empty grass. Frank was pissed. Allie top file. I saw that exchange. I didn't see Allie's version of it. I watched quite a bit of his exchanges. I saw Jeb Jacoby was there. Hunter Kozak was there. There was someone else from there. Oh, Henry Dell was there. I thought that was weird that they were all there. Yeah, I saw Frank. That's just not true. That's just not true. I saw it. I discovered you in January. You haven't missed a show. I discovered you in March, haven't missed a comment. Baron, can you think of any valid reason EK would lie about the bullet of and CK's Man of Steel neck? I just can't fathom a single reason why a wife would lie about any such detail. I can. Thank you, Crisis King. Crisis King, indeed. I can absolutely think of a reason she would lie about it. Remember, Andrew's original statement said the bullet was recovered from just below the skin. You remember that, right? The bullet was recovered from just below the skin. I thought that was on the timeline, but I may have, or the run today, but I may have missed it. I may have gone over it. Yeah, he said the bullet was recovered from just below the skin. But the ATF report said there was no bullet recovered. It said there was a bullet fragment recovered. Then it couldn't be tied definitively to the gun or conclusively to the gun. Interesting development. Interesting development. Professor Coleman, my BFF of 30 years, told me I've been brainwashed by Tucker and Candace for not supporting the war. She believes they, along with Joe Kent, are off base, anti-Semitic, and demonic. Oy vey. Don't ruin your friendship of 30 years over it, but just, when asked, provide your defense, provide your side, provide your statement, your offense even. But I'm not one that believes you should burn friendships over politics. I have friends on Facebook that say the stupidest things. And I just leave it alone. I mean, I'm not going to, even if I change that person's mind, they're still going to have a war in Iran. Like, they're still going to have a war. So why am I going to burn a friendship over this? I'll be confused, probably because I'm 66 years old. You were saying the why shouldn't be argued singularly. Isn't that also called the motive? Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to prove a why to convict somebody of murder. You just have to prove how and who. The why is really irrelevant. I mean, what if they don't have a why? What if they just do it? Still guilty. Why? I think the reason to Charlie's killing was alluded to in Sean Ryan's interview with Joe Kent, part of an effort to keep Trump aligned by threatening those close to him. There are more attempts mentioned. 1 hour, 7 minutes, 10 seconds. I intend to watch more of that. I've watched about 40 minutes of that podcast. And I've watched it on 2x speed because they both talk so slowly. But I don't mind that because it allows me to get through it a little quicker. Man, speaking of Sean Ryan in the follow-up, he did a better job, honestly, on this interview than I was expecting. But Joe Kent dropped some, I don't remember what it was, but he dropped some huge bomb. And I was expecting Sean Ryan to lean in and ask a follow-up. I don't even remember what it was. And instead of asking a follow-up, he goes, wow. Well, let me give you an introduction. I was like, what? Now you're going to give the introduction? The guy just dropped a nuke into the discussion. Yo, Barron, has there ever been a criminal case that challenged an official FBI investigation narrative and won? Thank you for all you do. Yes. Yes, I watched it in person. The bingo trial. It's a huge case in Montgomery, Alabama. A guy named Milton McGregor, who became a friend of mine over time. I really loved Milton. He went by Uncle Milton in Alabama political circles. He owned a couple of casinos in Alabama. He was a big real estate investor, Las Vegas area. But he was a prince of a human being to me. Now, I know he had real enemies and they had real reasons to hate the man. I get that. He was a very polarizing figure. But he was charged by the Department of Justice for bribery and an illegal lobbying scheme to get gambling passed in the state of Alabama. Alabama is one of the few states that has no form of gambling, no lottery, no casinos, nothing. Actually, the only thing they have is horse tracks, or dog tracks rather. And so some of the senators, one of them, I think, wore a wire. Several phone calls were recorded, and they took it to trial. And so I think 4 or 5 people pled guilty, and they testified against Milton and maybe 8 or 10 other people that decided not to take a guilty plea and go to trial. And it was just obvious they were going to lose because the evidence was so overwhelming, supposedly. This is the way the news reported it, much like the Charlie Kirk case. It sounded like Fed slop. Every time you turn on the news, the evidence is just overwhelming. Have you read the charging document? They've got these guys dead to rights. They got them on camera. They've got them on recording. They've got them on email. They can't possibly lose this case. They wouldn't have brought this case if there was a chance they could lose this case. 5 other people pled guilty and said they were involved. Guess what? Not guilty. Not guilty. I was there, ladies and gentlemen. It was insane. It was insane. This would have been like 2010, 11, somewhere back there. What a wild circus that was. I'll never forget. I shouldn't say that because that's what the TPUSA people say right before they lie. But this is true. I was watching them pick a jury. There's a really country lawyer named Joe Espy. He's a brilliant lawyer. Brilliant lawyer. His name's Joe Espy. Very Southern. And another guy named Bobby Siegel. Bobby is also very Southern. These are the 2 most Southern sounding people ever. They sound like Foghorn, Leghorn, and Colonel Sanders. And actually, I'll show you a picture of Bobby Siegel. He kind of looks like Colonel Sanders. You won't believe this is a real person. But not only is it a real person, he is a spectacular attorney, a very good lawyer. This is a picture of Bobby Siegel. I'm not kidding. Brilliant guy. Harvard-educated lawyer, thinks in paragraphs. He's one of those people. Could have been anything he wanted to be. But anyway, so Bobby's up there, and he's picking the jury. And he's talking about the fact that he has to say that they're going to hear some phone calls. And you got casino bosses, and you've got lobbyists, and you've got bad guys and good guys, and they're arguing. And so there's naturally some really salty language. And so he's wanting to make sure the jury's aware of this, and he's using the jury selection process to alert them to the fact that this is coming. And so he's asking them, can you be fair? Because you have to kind of ask everything to a juror in the can you be fair, but you sort of begin to put your case on in jury selection. And so he says, I can't even do his voice. Ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to play some audio. And this audio is going to be a phone call. And when you hear these phone calls, you're going to hear language that's going to make you blush. You're going to cringe a little. It's going to make you feel weird deep inside. You're going to think, what decent human being could possibly talk like that? I got to ask you, can you be fair? Can you hear a man speak that way and think he didn't actually commit a crime? It was awesome. And the jury just sitting there rocking like, oh my gosh, what have we gotten into? You know, because jury chairs typically rock. And when you know you got the jury, they start rocking. They start coming back and forth. It was awesome. It was a wonderful display of spectacular attorneying. After that case, if I ever got in real trouble, I would want those 2 representing me. They did a brilliant job, and they got a not guilty verdict. And the entire weight of the Federal Bureau of Investigation was against these people. They wanted them in prison for life, and they walked away not guilty. So yeah, it happens. People do win, but not often. No, O.J. Simpson, obviously, that was a state example, but you asked for a federal example. Hey, Bubba Baron, where do I reach out about merch that hasn't shipped yet? Shopify. Do I need to exercise my patience? Thank you for all you do. Always. I've learned so much from you. Yeah, I would check it out with Shopify. We don't handle any of that. We chose a vendor that would handle all the shipping on their end, so we don't have to deal with it. Precisely because of that. Can we be the Baronite family? Friends we choose as family. You can be whatever you want. I'm not going to stop you. This is Sean Ryan's editor. You're a hard man to get a hold of. I tweeted at you, DM. Look forward to hearing from you. Hold on, let me look here. You don't look like Sean Ryan's editor. You look like an old lady confused by a by a meme. Hold on, I don't check Twitter that much. I don't see a DM. I'll tell you what. If you will email me and put Sean Ryan editor in the subject, realbaronpodcast@gmail.com. I'll put it up here, and I'll check that. Now, see, I was just saying Sean Ryan sometimes. I put it there on a crawler. I'll leave it there for a second. I was just saying sometimes Sean Ryan has trouble with the follow-up, and his principal was in the audience. You see the trouble I get myself in? You see what happens? Now, this is not for everybody. This is only for him. I'm not checking it for anybody or her, whoever that is. Thank you for that comment, though. Not that hard to get a hold of. But I did not see I still don't see it. I don't even see it as a waiting option. Oh, all Unread. No, I don't see it. But we'll figure it out. My 5-year-old sends love from Poland. Koshami C.A. Baron. Polish bucks. You see what happens when we go early? We get Poles involved. Thank you. Hi, Baron. I'm patiently waiting for your further info research on Phil Lyman. I don't think I missed it since I watch your show every day. The member shows are gold. Keep on it. Appreciate you. I appreciate you. I actually reached out to Phil Lyman to see if he wanted to come on the show for a member show, and I'm waiting to hear back from him. I don't ambush people that I invite on. If somebody asks to come on, they get what they get. But if I invite them on, I don't ambush them. I give them the last word. I'm very polite. I might ask hard questions, but I don't invite someone on to embarrass them or humiliate them or try to make them look bad. So I did invite him on, but I've not heard back. He's a tough man to get a hold of. Sean Ryan, producer. Love the early show surprise. We're human and understand schedules are merely a suggestion. Can you drop a merch link in the description? I will. When it gets Christ is King indeed. I will when it gets to a position, a place where we can do that. I'll absolutely do that. Did you plan to have 8 kids? No. More than one was unplanned. How many girls, boys do you have? I have 2 daughters, but I really want a 3rd child. The only thing I'm worried about is the busyness. You love being in a big family. Have the kids. I'm just telling you, have the kids. Have the kids. And go to a nursing. If you don't believe me, go to a nursing home. Go to a nursing home and ask any of the 80-year-olds in there, should you have had more kids? Almost every one of them will say yes. Everyone. Have the kids. Don't worry about the busyness. You adjust. You're adaptable. You're human. I mean, we used to live through the most horrific circumstances imaginable. I mean, your ancestors went through things you can't even imagine. They lived on dirt floors. They drank water that looked like rust, and they thought it was great. They ate spoiled, rotten meat. They were frigid and freezing. They walked miles to get more water and food. The men might go out in April to go hunting and not come back until July. They go off to work. Have the kids. You're fine. You live in 21st century America, presumably. You're giving dollars. Have the kids. No, we've got 5 boys, and that's a lot. It's a lot. 5 boys and 3 girls. Please debate Andrew Wilson. I would. I'm not much of a debater in the sense that I would insist we debate one topic and one topic only, and the ground rules would be if we get off that topic, the conversation's over. Like, we're done. I'm not playing this game he played with Zach, where you change the subject and you get bogged down on all the stuff and you switch the burden of who's supposed to be proving what. If we couldn't agree on ground rules, I wouldn't do it. So I'm open to it, but I'm not looking it out. Do I think anyone from TPUSA is nervous about everyone learning the truth? I do. Because they keep going out there and making more problems for themselves. No, I think that's why. Nervous people make mistakes. Hearst Castle is amazing and worth visiting if you can. Night tour, you get to see more. Love you in the show. Thank you for all you do. Christ is King. Christ is King indeed. That's good advice. I've never considered visiting, but now I might. Title of the CK show that day, We Don't Have to Live This Way. I didn't know that. That's weird, right? Okay, but seriously, are they doing it just to mess with us? Or is this sort of thing required as part of black magic? It's infuriating. I've heard that is part of the diabolical magic stuff. They have to sort of tell you what they're doing. And I don't know if that's true or not. Any advice for a 4.0 GPA paralegal school dropout? Husband left me, so I had to pause school, but I know I'd be great if just given a shot. Thanks in advance. Yeah, depending on what market you're in, like a big market, small market. But I would just go to every law firm and say, I'm hungry. Let me prove myself. Just give me a shot. Let me prove myself. I've got some education in this. My circumstances changed, but I'm hungry. I'm hungry, humble, people smart. That's your lead. I'm hungry. I'm humble, and I know people. I'm people smart. I stole that from Pat Lencioni. He called it the ideal team player. Oh my goodness. Just did a search for U.S. bunkers for sale in Montana. Apparently it's very popular. Very popular. Owner of N582 Mike plane is Bronson Alford. Check your email from Anna. Can you at least confirm you have a photo of Erika? I'm not answering the damn photo question. Stop asking. Stop asking. Guys, stop asking about the photo. If you don't trust what we've been doing, go watch someone else. We have been doing this right. There's a method to all the madness. Trust. Love your show. I love your comment. I do get a little frustrated with that question, though. I believe you on the owner. I think we looked that up. Baron, I sent you an email about a connection from Egyptian. We may or may not check the email because I've announced at the last show and at the beginning of the show that we're redoing how we do emails. So I may or may not get to that email. But thank you. I appreciate it. Can Daisy do a deep dive on Pam Bondi? John Benet Ramsey. We'll do shows we do. I wish I could give you more and be a member. Just want to say, as a human being whose heart aches for what happened on Hang 10, thank you for not giving up. I'm not giving up. We're getting close. I feel like we're getting close. I've watched Nick Shirley since the beginning. I'm a member. He was in a group of YouTubers that got invited to the White House. He blew up because he works his hiney off. He was so stoked when Charlie called him. I can believe that. Research tip: use Philmont to scan through all your YouTube transcripts. If you need to find a specific word mentioned in a video, you can filter by channel too. Oh, thank you. It's good advice. Baron, devil's advocate. Maybe the talk about violence was because of the anniversary of 9/11 coming up. Christ is King. Christ King, indeed. I don't think so, but I don't know. Maybe. Read NPSM 7 issued from DJT on 9/25/25, referencing CK and ushering in domestic surveillance and restrictions. Thank you. Epstein Kushner. That might not be too far off. It'd be interesting to watch a clip of AK on a previous CKS episode and compare his disposition and cadence. He seems tense. He did seem a little tense. Did you see the pipe dripping blood in Harpo's hand while carrying CK? Sent email with photos. Yeah, that's not a pipe. It's his necklace. I have a much higher quality version of that photo, and I can see the chain links in the chain. It's his necklace. 100% his necklace. You talking about the thing hanging off? That's his necklace. There's zero doubt in my mind. I would swear on a Bible that's a necklace. There was a revival conference, 10-5-7 in Bozeman. Representative Zinke lives in Whitefish in Santa Barbara. He was a Navy SEAL and not running this year. Could he have been congressman in Fort Huachuca? I'll admit I haven't thought of him. Let me look. Zinke. I doubt it. I mean, it doesn't look like the same guy, but maybe. Thank you for that, though. That's something I didn't know. Hypothetically, if EK targeted CK, wouldn't she also have gone after AK and struck up a relationship to have something over him? I don't know. Is it possible there was a conspiracy neutralization attempt on CK, with a few actually planning a true neutralization and trapping the entire group? This could explain story inconsistencies. I've entertained that theory that there was some sort of an attempt to fake it and somebody took advantage of it, or it just accidentally took him out. I've thought of that. I don't subscribe to it, but it has crossed my mind. Hey, B. Von C. How's that toe box feeling today? My husband needs a bigger one too. That's what she said. Hey, Pat. If he needs a wide toe box, there are a lot of good shoes out there. Just search for shoes with wide toe boxes. That's funny, though. I'm willing to allow it. That's a holdover from the member show. Is President Nixon considered an accessory after the fact for the Watergate break-in? Oh, why? Because he helped cover it up, allegedly? I don't know. Don't forget, CO said they took him in a different airport than normal. She was talking about how he knows about planes. Well, allegedly they took him to not allegedly. They did. They took him to Salt Lake City instead of Provo. And I think that was her theory of why did they schedule an interview that morning in Salt Lake. No security detail for following event. Red flag. Agreed. Have you looked into other planes with the transponders on during the 10:05 to 11:34 time frame in other parts of the U.S., D.C., Miami, etc.? Oh, because of the communication capacity. I have not, actually. That's a good idea, but I've not. In aviation, there's a 400-foot floor that aircraft can't go under. That means if you pass over a structure, you must be 400 feet over it. Exception, takeoff landing. This floor is also drone ceiling. I believe they were on approach to the Provo airport. You're talking about the Axel 10 flight 2 times on that day in Provo. I believe they were on approach to the Provo airport, but didn't land. Just came down really low and then took back off. I don't know. I mean, I assume maybe they could say they were practicing an approach. I don't know. King Coleman. Now we're cooking with grease. What is your thought on the snake eyes theory? Also, could Philadelphia be working with other country to weaken the U.S.? USA all day, every day. I'll admit, there are a lot of weird congruencies between snake eyes and what happened to Charlie Kirk. I will agree with that. I will admit that. I don't know what to make of it, honestly. I know Charlie was a great guy, but I'm going to say it. He had to know how corrupt some folks in TPUSA and his close circle were. Too much money for him to have been in the dark about it. I don't 100% disagree with you. I'm shocked they didn't already have the company-wide email drafted, or maybe they had to rewrite it because things went awry and it didn't end up shot in the chest. Well, I'm not, because even if it was pre-planned, you can't make it look pre-planned. You know, it's got to look like you're scrambling to put out a statement. You know how you smile, giggle when your kid says a certain word just because the way he says it? That's how I feel when Barron says, Wachuca. That's funny. I don't know why I say it that way. I can't believe I caught the great Barron live. Kind of. Just starting the show now, 1 hour in. So excited. All the best from Serbia. Christ is king. We're big in the Balkans. I keep telling people how huge we are in the Balkans. Nobody believes me. I say, you should see the numbers from the Balkans. Just covered up in the Balkans. Hi, Barron. Huge fan. Appreciate how you take time to read everyone's super chat. Every time I try on Candace, she never gets to read mine, and I've been trying to get a shout out for months. Yeah, I think I'll have time to go through all of them today. I do have a hard stop around 6 o'clock my time, but I'm trying to get. That's why I'm going a little quicker on some of these. I am trying to get to as many as possible. I do try. I commit to getting to as many as I can. Sometimes I get to all of them, sometimes I don't. But I try to get to as many as possible. My dear friend, more like a little brother, married Patty's daughter. Good people. Oh, Patty Hearst. Interesting. Thank you. Don't forget Netanyahu immediately made a statement. Wonder if those planes with the transponders were how BB was so quick with his statement. I heard an interesting theory about that, believe it or not, relative to those planes and BB's statement. So you might be onto something there. Gray shirt guy said he was dead as soon as he saw them put him in the car. Yeah, he did. There was a big scandal, child issues, Potter's Field Ministries in Kalispell, Whitefish a few years ago. No idea if related. I just remember the story. You know, Rob McCoy was involved in that. I think he was the chairman or pastor of that group or something. I'd have to go back and look at the facts, but I think he was involved in that. Handyman TN. Interesting you bring that up. I'd forgotten about that. Wouldn't HIPAA prevent hospital staff from telling anyone but next of kin anything about CK, especially that he had passed? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Lot of ways they could get around that. For one thing, we don't know, and he's famous, and he had a medical kit and all that. He might have had a healthcare proxy with him that allowed one of the members of the team to serve as sort of the proxy. So that would, or he might have just had a HIPAA consent form that said, you can talk to these guys if something happens to me. That would be the easy way around it. And I imagine if you travel with a security team and anticipate a medical emergency, you might have something like that in place. Members only show was hilarious. Had to watch this morning, so I got a double dose of you today. Oh, Tina, are we related? Tina Coleman? That's cousin Tina, ladies and gentlemen. Suddenly, the term data point is just saturating podcast sphere. Just listen to 2 pods where it was used 30 plus times, and now my absolute favorite Barron too. Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Welcome from New Zealand. I assume those are New Zealand bugs. 20,000 watching at 5 on a Friday. Let's go, Max, Mr. Barron. We're up to 189 now. We were over 22 a little bit ago. Yeah, Friday. I was kind of expecting it to be really low today, but because it was so early and it was on a day I don't normally do a show. Classic Erika and Andrew thinking I know everything is some kind of profound statement. TPUSA 2.0 equals a low IQ outfit. I agree with that last part for sure. Candace said the hug was probably on the tarmac in Scottsdale when AK arrived from California. I'm starting to believe that. Hey, Baron, today's my birthday. I love your show. Crisis King, go backs. Crisis King indeed. Happy birthday, Kimmy Joe, the Crochet Cabin. Happy birthday. Reporting for duty in Tucson, Arizona, and Scottsdale next week. I live there and moved. I will go max if needed. Let me know. Wow. I'm not sure what I need, but go see the sites. Possible AK and other execs always has his staff draft statements. Wasn't Aubrey his assistant? Could he have been stressed to do it? The biggest moment in the history of the organization. If you're going to wilt under the pressure, don't get the job. You don't think the assistant was stressed under the situation? Trump asked the question really early on. He told us himself, I think, from the Oval Office. Asked what question? I believe you. Hold on. Check out the Charlie Kirk show on September 5th. I believe Libby and Nick's interviews were also pre-recorded on the 5th. Andrew is wearing the same outfit. Really? And he's rich. He wouldn't wear the same outfit twice in 5 days. I wear hoodies and don't wear the same outfit twice in 5 days. That's interesting. That's a cool data point. Clip that. Solange, my first super chat. Continue to fight for truth and justice. Go Max. Yes, Solange reporting for duty. Candace is Beyonce. I'm just Solange. Hey, Baron. Finaz from Mobile here. Believe that months ago that the picture of the rifle used was posted on the internet and then it was deleted. I read that it was just a rifle from Walmart. Yeah, there's a lot of question about the rifle picture. And whether it's the actual rifle or whether it's an example picture. I've heard both definitively, and I don't know what the true answer is. So hopefully we'll learn more as the case rolls on. Did the Santa Barbara to Scottsdale flight pull up into Hopkinton? No, it actually pulled up to an FBO on the other side of the runway. It didn't pull up to Hopkinton. It went over there. So he would have had to take a car around the runway or walk around the runway, but that'd be a long walk. And rich people don't really walk, do they? They take cars. They don't drive either. They take cars. Interesting to note that N40 Juliet Delta transponder turns on at 13:10, 47 minutes after the Big Bang. Flight radar says it was scheduled to take off 11:30. Actual takeoff 1:37. Now that's interesting. See, that's an interesting data point. I hadn't picked up on that. Thank you. Baron, if Donna's probably out gallivanting, you meant driving hundreds of miles daily in an 80,000-pound loaded flatbed, throwing chain straps and tarps while running from tornadoes and scissors, then yes, I'm very busy gallivanting. Donna! You're back! I got so worried about you, Donna. I had no idea what you did for a living. That's amazing. You know, I used to want to be a trucker. It sounds fun. There's a romanticism to it. Listen to Convoy by C.W. McCall. Listen to Roll On 18-Wheeler by Alabama. Yes. I Wish I Could Have Been There by John Anderson. All the good trucking country classics. Yeah. I'm glad you're living out my dream, though. Gallivanting around. Hey, don't be too hard on Harvey. He's obviously very wounded. Thank you for checking in. I'm glad to know you're doing well. Andrew said she knows everything to suggest foul play that EK knew and would expose it to rally our support. Then nothing. Instead, EK platforms CK's critics. They try to manipulate us. Christ is king. I tend to believe you. I'm curious what his explanation is for what that meant. How was her being at that building when she told us he's dead correlate with her being with her mom earlier when she got the call he was shot? Not following. She wasn't with her mom earlier. I do not believe she was with her mom earlier. In my opinion, I don't believe she was with her mom earlier. And I think there'll be evidence of that very soon. It was only 35-ish minutes, 30 to 40 minutes, Andrew said, from the time he was shot until they knew he was dead. If she was on a plane when she got the news, then she left on N40JD and got there early. But again, if she was on that plane, how did she get to the airport so fast? There's just a lot of questions. Stellar episode Monday. Masterful advocacy counselor. By the way, your Polish is terrible. Oh. I'm devastated. You know how long I practiced? No. You didn't cast any spells. Oh, good. When you read that super chat about placing a dome of protection over your home and family, some may say that a protection spell. Oh, okay. Thank you. Checking back in. Look, driving trucks and writing spectacular commentary. It's a magical combo there. I sent an email. Just kidding. I'm about to panic. But I did before you announced you're not reading them any longer. But if you want, I'll help sort through them for free. I'm a contracted RN, so I have free time here shortly. Crisis King, I have more nonprofits associated with Kalispell. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But I appreciate the offer. I genuinely do. And if I ever do want to do that one day, I'll remember you, Abby Holmes. Did the narrative not say he assembled the gun on the roof, then took the shot? You can't get a scope zeroed under that pretense. Yeah. I do believe it said that. Did it take 25 minutes to assemble a rifle? I mean, he was on the ground at the base of the stairs at like 11:57. The shot didn't ring out till 11:23. What is going on? What is taking so long? You're right, Harvey. I'd never leave the turkey baster under the bed. You know better than anyone how many police interrogations and murder trials I've watched from beginning to end. You're safe though, Harvey. Don't worry. Harvey, that was a failed threat. You're safe for now, Harvey. Oh, man, the Donna and Harvey saga. I've got a whole story written in my head of what went wrong, but I'm not going to say it. The episode that day Andrew did was a Charlie Kirk assassination primer. Love the RBP. Thanks to you and your team for all you do. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Sarah. Hey, Baron, have you heard That's Why It Matters by R Music Media? It's your song. I had it on repeat this morning. Nothing against Fleet whatsoever. I've not heard it, but I'm open to listening to it. Thank you. Hoodie color, bull buttermilk yellow. Ooh, I like that. Bull buttermilk. Wouldn't it be a little sour, though? Is buttermilk? Well, buttermilk is not supposed to be this color. What's interesting is that plane N560 Tango Whiskey was originally scheduled to depart Santa Barbara at 10:10 a.m. and land at Scottsdale 11:18. Is that true? Hold, please. I'm going to look that up real fast, ladies and gentlemen. 560 TW. Date. September 10th. Yeah, it was originally scheduled to leave at 10 o'clock. So it was pre-scheduled before it even landed. And then didn't leave till 11:37. 12:37 Utah time. So it held. It's a very interesting development. I had not caught that. And I've looked at this flight line 1,000 times. Thank you. Thank you. Never thought I'd be leaving a Baron show wanting to purchase a kitten and saying people don't pet cobras. Well, they don't. They don't. Can you touch on who CK was looking at before his last home interview? Such a look of betrayal. He deserves so much better. Sorry if this is repetitive, some in prayer and faith. I don't know, honestly. I know Candace speculated on her last show. It could have been Frank. But I don't know. I mean, it could have just been he was tired and was like, I mean, I don't know what I look like because my monitor's over there, but here, I'll move it. More like this, right? Yeah, maybe he's got bad eyes. I don't know. Now that you mention it. Thank you. So Scotland calling. Scotland. Loving the earlier show time so much I had to send my first super chat. Keep going, Max. Doing my best. Sniping heist. Actually, I pronounced it out loud. Now I'm in trouble. Can the pilots of planes involved be compelled under subpoena to reveal who the passengers were on each of the flights you're investigating? Crisis King, indeed. I think so. I don't know why they wouldn't be able to. Baron, my 40 club brother. First super chat. New member of his up last night. Love your content. The only one besides Candace's that I watch. Keep up the good fight. Crisis King, indeed. Good sir, good ma'am, whatever you are. Baron, thank you for your prayers. It's making a difference. God bless you and your family. Love the show and all your hard work of the Truth Crew. We've got a new name, guys. We're the Truth Crew. Thank you. Assuming your theory is correct, how do you think AK, EK, TPUSA were informed by the intel agencies that this was the plan? How did that play out? Oh, that's so much speculation. I don't know. I don't know. The story is U.S. attacked Iran because Israel's going to anyway. Maybe TPUSA knew Israel would take down Charlie, so TPUSA devised their own plan to appease the donors and push their own narrative. That's a little out there for me. Speak to text voice. Again, a member's inside joke. Apparently, I did not know that was something old people do. I sent a text live on the member show, and I spoke it using the talk to text feature, and it did not go over well. But I just want to say thanks for the belly laughs from yesterday's show. I haven't laughed like that for ages, and it was much needed, period. You're welcome. Thank you. Love your show, Baron. I love your comment. Cool, awesome madness. Thank you. Keep up the great work. Brian and I, Rose, watch your show. God bless you and Crisis King. Crisis King indeed, Rose. Thank you. And hey, Brian. Greetings from Zagreb, Croatia. Oh, cool story. So we lived in Bloomington. There was a restaurant there. It was my favorite restaurant in town called Janko's Little Zagreb. It had the best food. I think it's closed now, but the best food. Steaks. Had these spicy meatballs I love to get. They were so spicy you'd be sweating by the end of the meal. What good food that was. Supposedly Croatian food. Watched every show since you blew up. My name translates to War and Peace. No other language has this name. God bless you. No kidding. It's bellicose, but it's peaceful. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it because I'll do a bad job. But thank you for checking in from Zagreb, and thank you for reminding me of Janko's Little Zagreb. Great little restaurant. Hey, Baron, can't wait to see Adfleek's take on the Kitten Cobra Party podcast. Crisis King. Gosh, I wish I knew which one she was going to clip because I'd play into it a little more. Like I'd have more fun with it. We are part a cone in the ME nowadays. Crisis King. I don't know what that means, but thank you, Crisis King. Indeed, we're a part of cone. I don't know what that means. Your 126 episode on Dale Earnhardt. 3 days after my NASCAR loving dad passed away, and 1 day before my birthday was too emotional for me. You hadn't talked NASCAR before, and it felt like you used it to give me a sign. I took a break, but I'm back. Amber, welcome back. I was not doing it on purpose. I don't even know why I did that one. I just thought it was an interesting allegory for what we were talking about that day. But thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Candace said after Charlie was shot that Vance called Erika and asked how much she knew. And she said everything. I never understood what that was about. Thoughts on this? That's what I covered today. I don't know if you wrote that comment. What time did you send that? You might have written that comment before I covered it. But yeah, I don't know what it means. I would like an explanation. I would love an explanation. I'm late, but I think AK interviewed Nick Shirley to keep him from going to the event and avoid him from noticing all the such things happening at UVU. It could be. I mean, having a really sharp, young investigative reporter with a camera live streaming the event would be problematic if you were trying to hide things. Sorry, I messed right tongue the other one. You messed this one too. I'm one-eyed person who lost my eye because I'm an infidel to some people. You lost an eye? I'm so sorry to hear that. It sounds terrible. That sounds terrible. I'm sorry you've dealt with that. But And I'm sorry that I was not trying to make light of your inability to write well due to the condition. I told Coach about your shoes. Oh, great. I didn't get a chance to listen to Coach today. I normally listen to him in the mornings. I did not get to today. I can only imagine what he thinks of my footwear. He probably has cool shoes. Coach probably has the greatest lineup of shoes. Your humble host, not so much, apparently. I thought they were fine. Hey, Baron, I was watching that back and forth with a guy who you blocked today. I thought I should remind you of your advice not to engage, but you shut it down quickly. He kept going after you left. I'm sure he did. Hey, I wasn't rude. Like, I wasn't yelling at him and all that. At first I thought he was serious. And so I was trying to like explain myself. And then I realized he wasn't serious. I was like, okay, so you know better than I do. I'm sorry. His point was the only thing that should be talked about at all is the exploding microphone. And I just think there's so much more to talk about. That's not going to solve the who. That's not going to solve the why. He's solving the how, and that's fine. We got to solve the who, how, and why. So I'm elated that Candace saw my comment about the tarmac hug happening in Scottsdale instead of Provo. Totally made my day. You, U.S. Patriot 9/11 original, have been noticed by the principal, the queen, the Ivan. Downside is realizing much of what I grew up believing is not true. Moon landing, 9/11, the Vegas shooting. It's sad. And thank you for the wake-up call. God bless. Christ is king. Christ is king indeed. Yeah, we've been lied to our whole lives. Almost nothing you've ever seen is true. Baron and the Battle Bun Gang are huge in Sveden. We're waiting for the new single, Double Standards. Hope you guys can get TPUSA GPS trackers. Christ is king. I don't need a GPS tracker. You think they have access to AirTags and stuff? Find my iPhone and all that? My data service isn't working on my phone. Need Wi-Fi for data. AK phone dying. Maybe he connected to hospital Wi-Fi at 428. Yeah, maybe. I still think the broken phone is so suspect. Or sus, as the kids call. Keep talking and don't stop. The defense has to be listening. Allegedly, the planes, employees, and timelines will be discussed in the May hearing, and EK is fighting to not have the planes brought in due to donors' privacy. I was not aware of that. Thank you for, I'll look into that. Thank you. Hey, Baron. Great week of content. Just a friendly reminder, politics and private planes are not worth your soul. Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. These people need to repent. Email your Congress people. Power numbers. Friends with former pilot of Charlie Kirk. Any dates you may have questions about? Yeah. So you email me and say, Charlie Kirk pilot friend, and I will find that and we will chat. I got a lot of dates I'd like to know about. I'd love to just talk to him if you could introduce me. So please, email me, realbaronpodcast@gmail.com, realbaronpodcast@gmail.com. Charlie Kirk pilot friend. If you put that in the subject line, we will communicate. Surely you've covered it, but did EK learn about CK when Mikey called her when it happened or later when she was in the air? She claimed to the New York Times it was later when she was in the air, or at least that's what the New York Times reported. I'm not going to say what she claimed, but that is how the New York Times reported that she claimed the New York Times reported that she learned while she was in the air at 20,000 feet that he was dead. I'm assuming she learned of the bang when Mikey called. And I'm really revisiting this Mikey called his wife first thing. There's something to that I need to run down. I'm really in my mind revisiting this in light of my new thoughts I have. Jamie Thompson was a speaker at NCS Texas Regional Retreat at Iron Horse Ranch. Candace made reference to this organization at one point. Anyone know? No, I don't know. That's interesting. Is that the Cattle Barons Ranch or something? No relation. No relation. Hi, Baron, your favorite seminarian here. One of the best opening statements yet. Enjoying seminary in Spain. Praying for you and the family every day. Thank you, Anthony. Or Anthony's Pathway. Thank you. I genuinely appreciate that. And we'll pray for you as well in seminary. We need someone who can actually argue and debate with these jerks. Costello's doing his best, but we need somebody that knows how to argue with a-holes. Yeah, Zach is falling into the trap. He did it better today with Gary, but he still fell into it a little bit. Zach, they're the ones making the claim. They're the ones that have the burden of proof. All you have to do is say, what is your evidence? And then poke a hole. What is your evidence? Poke a hole. What is your evidence? Poke a hole. You do not have to produce any evidence. The defense never has to put on a witness. They don't have to introduce any evidence. The burden is on the movant. The movant in this case is the state. They are taking on the role of the state by saying Tyler did it. So make them produce evidence, and then you can poke holes in it. You can poke holes in it by pointing to evidence if you want. I think if Zach took that approach, he would have much more success. And that's the only ground rules I would have agreed to. I would say, I don't have to prove anything. You understand that, right? I don't have to produce any evidence. You understand that? I might, but I don't have to. Here's the problem I see. If TR gets acquitted, it's likely going to be because of reasonable doubt. So won't everyone still think he did it? If he gets acquitted, it absolutely will be reasonable doubt. That's the only option the jury gets, yes or no. Like they get guilty, not guilty. That's it. Or hung jury. Can't come to a decision. It's like the check box. There's no like he's innocent. That's not one of the options. Not hanging off Charlie a catheter under Charlie while they're halfway to the car. I'm a jeweler, not a chain that I'm talking about. What time is it? Do I have time to look this up? Maybe. Let me see what you're talking about. I'm going to pull up I'm not going to pull it up on the screen because it's going to have pictures of him in the aftermath, and YouTube frowns on that. But let me pull it up and look. Hanging under him. So here's my question. Here's my point, Nikki. If you're talking about an image where they're all carrying him and he's laying on his side this way, and there's something hanging down right here, looks like it's coming out of his armpit, and it's like coming off of a guy's arm, that is his necklace. I don't see anything else that could be considered tubing or catheter. If that's what you're talking about, that is a necklace. I have that image. And I have another image that has that in it that you can zoom in, and I can see the links on the chain. So if that's what you're talking about, if you're talking about something else, I don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing else visible. So, hey, Baron, great show. Once again, I just want to say thanks to you, Daisy, and the grand jury for a sore stomach today. I laughed so hard over yesterday's live, period. All black shoes and toe box still has me laughing. Well, Anna. Some people need a big toe box. Candace brought up Egyptian planes over Provo yesterday and said it was because Turk being back there. In my opinion, why is he so important to be followed? I don't know. I didn't say it. You'd have to ask her. I was so excited you're doing an early show and then missed it because my insurance wasn't paying for my asthma medication. Catching up now. Just want to say hello to King Baron. Jamie, hello. I hope you get the medicine situation worked out. Breathing is essential. Essential. As I went to see Theo Vaughn live at the Ryman, and he had a deal where he said he was in a special needs class when he was like in elementary school, and there was a kid in there with asthma. And he was like, "Hey, homeboy, if you can't breathe, maybe Earth's not for you." Oh man, it was so funny. He is a funny guy. I love Theo Vaughn. We need a Mrs. Coleman show. Wow, 5 boys, and it seems like you all are killing it. My 5 and 7-year-old boys are slowly digging my grave. We need some of that homeschool crunchy mom tips soon. I'll get her in here for a members show. She is so shy in front of a camera, but she'd do great. She'd do great. And I got 2 mics, and I got a setup that can handle it. She'd be great, though. You see Real Jesse on Fire manufactured martyr series. I have. AK cell dying. Maybe connect at hospital Wi-Fi. Yeah, that's that was raised earlier. I don't know that that's true, but that was raised earlier. Because become a member become a member, people, because it's worth every penny, especially when King Baron gets roasted by Daisy over his advanced age. Apparently, I'm older than I thought I was. People, please don't treat cousin Tina like you do a hypothetical Aunt Sue. That poor fake woman. I would never do cousin Tina that way. Coleman's, we're tight with each other. We're tight. We know. Baron, I was watching Gary today with Zach Costello when I pointed out they are attacking Candace's alleged lies and ignoring all of Erika's. Yes, they are. Hi, Baron. Just came a member for the show yesterday on Candace's show yesterday. She said the Egyptian planes are back at Provo, and I noticed that Frank T was back at UVU yesterday speaking as well. Yeah, that's correct. Those are all facts. And welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's program. Should have just had Erika draft the note. She was fine. Oh. Can you better explain why the transponders seem to be so important? My son is an avionics tech and says they cannot be used for actual two-way communication. Coming on, going off would be normal during maintenance. And that might be true. When I've talked to other people, they said that the transponder can't be used, but the transponder coming on indicates the plane's electronics are coming on, and that could be used for satellite communication. I'm not an avionics expert. I'm just going by what people have said and what I've read. I now call my dog Blair. That makes me laugh. Love your show, and justice for Charlie is all we want. Go Max and Christ is King. Indeed, Dana Lynn. Auntie Leish, I was woken by 6 a.m. notification. RBP was going live. No sleep in for me, but not mad as I'm catching live. Please consider a regular Friday show as the Southern Hemisphere can chime in Saturday morning. Your work down under. Love your work down under. I didn't even think about that. You're on Saturday morning already. Like I got a whole Friday night ahead of me. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom indeed. Erika could have had it all if she'd taken 6 months to pretend like she was sad and then came back to avenge her husband. Could you imagine? If she'd have just disappeared for 6 months, there would be no Drewski skit. There'd be none of these eyes. And then we read the Bible. And then we prayed. And we asked the Lord. We asked the Lord. There'd been none of that. There'd have been no fireworks. There'd have been no grieving black leather pants. There'd have been no weird JD hug. I mean, none of it. She would have been in the catbird seat. There'd be no investigation. Honestly, I don't think there'd be an investigation. I think we would all packed up and go, well, that was weird. Like for EK Ultra merch. Ooh, I like that. I might do that. 912 DJ R shared a R and T are next to each other. So I'm holding out the possibilities, DJT. A tribute image showing he and Charlie hugging in front of the U.S. and Israeli flags. The image next to great Charlie Kirk, R.I.P. Shlomo Peril, which means naive, gullible, or easily manipulated person. I've heard that, but I don't know. Was that original? Like, did somebody make that up? Because I can't imagine the White House putting that out. I always wonder what would happen if his parents had a civil case to force further investigation. This is above my legal knowledge, but I don't know that they have standing. I'm assuming maybe they would. But I don't know. Wow, Valkyrie, thank you. Have you read The Woman I Know, Kennedy's CIA Intrigue, or Hot Blood, Brack's Heiress Scandal? Interesting. Christ is King. Christ is King indeed. No, I have not. The Woman I Know sounds interesting, though. Kennedy's CIA Intrigue? Hot Blood sounds like a trashy romance novel. Brack's Heiress Scandal? I don't know that I should be reading that. That might hurt my conscience. Did a little research. I'm 99.9% sure Pizza Flight is nothing to worry about. Never can. Well, that leaves open 1/10 of 1% that I could perish at any moment in a hail of missile fire or something. Can we get that up a little higher? Those are kind of low numbers when it's life or death. Never can guarantee 100% anything without being involved. Well, that's sort of comforting. The what do you know question. Trump called EK and asked. He told us this himself. Okay, so that was Trump. So what was the question? What did he want to know that she knew? MK Ultra, EK Ultra, 2026 Operation TPUSA Ultra. 10 a.m. Pacific time flight makes sense if Charlie declined the Ben Shapiro interview the day before. Oh, how? I don't know that I get that, but thank you. I love you, Grace Wade Vans. Thank you. Finally, someone short coin. Those are my dress Vans. I wore them to Candace. You've seen them. I don't know actually if you could see my shoes on that show. Did it show below my shins? I don't even know. I haven't watched it in a long time. I don't think it did actually. But maybe there was a place where I moved my legs and you caught a little glimpse of them in action. Thank you, short coin. I keep 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I know, all I knew. Their names are what and why and when and how and where and who. Rudyard Kipling from the Wales brother Zeesh. Interesting. If Charlie knew Andrew had a flight that day and he wouldn't have had him cover the show, so Andrew prefer to do it and not have him know about the flight. I don't know. That's I would think. I don't know how to answer that. Hello, Baron. I like this haircut better than when you wear your hair really short. Oh. I watch you every day from the beautiful Mexican Pacific coast. Well, thank you. Thank you, Nobi Des Cow. Nobi Des Cow. Des Cow. Thank you. I'm gonna take that as a compliment and not a rejection of my shorter hair lifestyle I adopt from time to time. Who was on the JD plane? EK, airborne, transponder. Well, we don't know. We don't know. I mean, it's possible she was on that plane, but I don't think so. The phone tracks every second, so his phone broke. Yeah. King Baron, you would be the most benevolent of all. However, from day one, I was screaming at the television. Look at the wife. Finally, Christ is king. Christ is king indeed, and I would be the most benevolent king of all time. I'd be beloved. What off-ramp did CK's plane use when it landed? 5. When it landed on its way back from Salt Lake City, 5. A5. If Charlie didn't ask Andrew to cover the CK show on 9/10, Andrew may have been able to take an earlier flight. That may have interrupted the plan. Oh, so you're saying that 10 a.m. flight may have been scheduled days before. Now I'm getting it. So if Charlie had declined, I got it. Thank you, loud personalities. You just put it all together for me. So if Charlie had said, no, I'm not doing the Ben Shapiro flight, then Andrew would have been free to leave at 10. But Charlie screwed that up by accepting the Ben Shapiro on the condition that Andrew host the following day. So what Andrew did was he said, oh, gosh. So he had his 10 a.m. flight scheduled, calls and says, I'm running late, does an hour, hustles over to the airport, leaves at 11:38. Now we're cooking with grease. That might be a thing. Thank you. You've just helped me solve that in my mind. Adidas pronounced Adidas. Adidas. Oh, really? It's Adidas. What do you know behind the scenes with the relation? Exactly what relationship we're talking about? Israel. Baron, you rock. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I got to hustle. I got to get out of here in like 13 minutes. I don't know if my last message went through. Blake mentioned that he put that phone away, implying having 2 phones. Wasn't there 12 Israeli phones detected on 910? Love your show. Mikey was spotted on camera with 2 phones. Maybe Blake had 2 phones. Mikey had one in each hand walking up the stairs. I seen it. Enough the meme says, I seen it. With my own 2 peepers. I was telling you, there's video of it. Unless he's holding like a phone-shaped brick, but it looked like a phone. In the second set of SUV photos Candace released, there's something on the floor that looks like a tube taped to flesh-colored paper. Thoughts? I'd have to go back and look at it. Thank you. I will double-check it now that you've mentioned it. Off topic, but have you heard anything from Ian? Kind of worried. Actually, I texted him. Hold, please. Oh, I don't know how to search after my phone updated. Ian Carroll. We texted back and forth on Tuesday. It's Friday now? Yeah. He's fine. He's really neck deep in this web project. I mean, they are really building a fine piece of equipment. So I think he's just busy, if I had to guess. But yeah, we texted back and forth on Tuesday. The thing has been suspicious since they paved over the grass. Well, it was suspicious before that. It was ludicrous after that. I would love to hear the Fed sloppers tell me why they paved over the grass. You paved over an active crime scene. You had a guy standing on the chair he died in. I love how Fleet made you look like a Stetson cowboy. What a stud. Such a stud. Well, she just accurately portrayed your humble host. That's all she did. I regularly wear denim on denim. Stetson hats. I sing in a country band. I'm a country music sensation, Jamie. Like Cash's girlfriend. What off-ramp did AK's plane use when it landed from Santa Barbara in Scottsdale? It landed on the other side. So the N-102 Delta Zulu plane landed on the northwest side, and the Santa Barbara plane actually landed on the southeast side. So he would have had to somehow get around the airport. That's a good question. Good, sir. Edge, thank you for not giving up. I want TPUSA by the short hair. Talk about short hairs. It's a family show. The rapid fire text between CK and AK. Wouldn't CK have been suspicious AK was available since he should have still been hosting hour 2 of the CK show? Unless he knew it was a pre-record and agreed with it. But other than that, yeah. Other Paradise plots. Nadia Moriyama, captain. Oh, pilots, excuse me. Nadia Moriyama, Avery Poole, and Brent Perry. Cameron Wales just emailed the list. I'm going to take a picture of it. That way I don't have to check emails. Thank you. Did you notice the Tyler Robb texts are in a PA dialect? Then at the end of the sentence where it doesn't belong in vehicle, very Pennsylvania. I didn't know Pennsylvania had their own dialect. Is this true? Is this true? They have their own dialect in Pennsylvania? I mean, I lived there for a year. I noticed they said yet at the end of everything. I haven't gone to the store yet. Haven't gotten that yet. I'm like, we don't need the yet. If you haven't gotten it, then we know you haven't gotten it yet. I've been telling my sis-in-law to listen to you for weeks, and I knew she finally did when she ended a text yesterday with, in my humble opinion. Your very humble sister has been listening. Sister-in-law has been listening to your very humble host. Have any of the lawyers contacted you about any of the information you've gathered? They have not. Keep going, Max, with your athletic. Are those shoes? What are the yellow things? You don't know what those are. They look like dancers or something. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm doing my best over here. Grumblers? Do we have any weighing in from the grumblers? I see no weighing in from the grumblers. Nick Shirley seems sketchy to me, always has. Well, some people like him. Some people like him. All right, guys, I got to get out of here. I've got to go hang out with my boys for a little bit. I hope you've had as good a time as I have. Don't forget to like the show. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. It really does go a long way towards getting the program seen by other people. The more it's seen by other people, the more YouTube features it in the future. So they base your future performance off past performance. So it does help. It does help. It's not a thankless task. So go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe as well. If statistics show about a third of you are not subscribers that watch. Please, by all means, join us. We have a good time here. If you subscribe, you might as well hit the notification button. That will let you know when I go live. If you've not subscribed to the Clips channel yet, if you're coming in late and haven't seen this, go over there and check out subscribe at YouTube, or you can subscribe to the Clips channel, youtube.com/@Baron_Clips. That will put you on the Clips channel, and you can subscribe there. I will start populating that with content very soon. But in the meantime, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget, don't you ever forget, Jesus loves you. Have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful weekend. I will be back Sunday night at some point. I don't know what time. Could be 5, could be 6, could be 7. Won't be 7. 5, could be 6, could be 4. I'll be back Sunday at some point. You guys have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.